discretion is advised.
Happy Monday. You are listening and or watching PWNCAST. This is episode 104, and we are in patch 6.2.3. Tonight, we are going to be covering a lot of topics, a lot of information. We're going to be talking about ability pruning, the private server shutdown, the state of World of Warcraft, and its future with Legion and future expansions, and much, much more. So make sure you guys stay right here.
In the World of Warcraft trade chat, troll-based offenses are considered especially heinous. In Azeroth, the dedicated players who call out these asshats are members of the elite squad known as the PWNCAST podcast. These are their stories.
That's anything up though.
Oh, you're good. Bell's a bitch, Bell's a bitch, Bell's a bitch, bitch, bitch.
They can all hear you guys. Welcome back. What a bunch of dicks. These guys are so rude.
I didn't say anything.
It'll teach you for muting us again.
I did mute them for those of you watching live. I muted them because they are very mean during the intro, so it's the only way I can get any peace is to mute them. So you guys might have noticed somebody has taken over my middle box. I'm going to go ahead and intro him first because I love him so much. I gave him the middle box. That's like Dixie Chick serious. So I don't know if anybody knows who this guy is, but it is ya boy, content creator and warrior extraordinaire, Asmongold. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Jim's really excited you're here.
Yeah, I've known, if you guys didn't know, it's my boy Jim. Like, I did a couple of videos about him, and so, like, you guys already know about him.
He's a really bad pet battler.
I told them that I once had a conversation with you, and none of them believed me. So now we know the truth is, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's my boy. Like, one day we're going to do a pet battle, like a tournament, maybe in Legion, maybe for charity.
Yeah, raise some money for them kids.
Am I a kid?
No, you do.
I feel like we'll get to that after the intros. I did also bring the Riders of Rohan with me. I did bring the Death Knight who got his tongue stuck on his Pillar of Frost lichen.
It happened once. I was drunk, and we don't like to talk about it.
It was probably yesterday, if I had to guess. What the fuck hat are you wearing? Can you answer that question?
It's my fishing hat. I took the spawnlings out fishing. You missed it. I had the other glasses on here, but I can't figure what the fuck I did with them. I went fishing with the kiddos this weekend. Oh, here they are. And I decided, in honor of me going fishing, I'd wear them. But I told you I was going to wear these glasses, but she was kind of getting upset when I was wearing them.
Oh, no.
I'm ready to go.
Back to the future.
I just want you guys to know that what Lycan wears on the show does not reflect PWNCAST style in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
These are my gaming glasses.
That's embarrassing. I did also bring the monk who used his spinning crane kick at his ballerina recital, Jimma Banks.
Yeah, buddy.
It's your boy, Jimma Banks. I don't know what that intro actually means, but it's thank you for having me. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.
Did you just say you don't even know what it means?
Ballerina. I don't know. I know
it's a good try.
I don't understand
that was a
what
really
the
terrible impression.
ballerina.
I expect better of you.
I was thrown off by the ballerina thing. I'm going to tell you the truth.
I hid their intros from them this week, so it's a nice surprise for them. We're glad you're here. I did also bring the priest who got arrested for using his chakras in public secret sauce.
Yeah. It's the thing, though. People are starting to do that more often now, so, you guys got it from me.
I don't think people are doing that more often. I just think you're
Yeah, they
doing
are.
that.
No, it's me.
Well, let's not make this weird, guys. I don't really know how to segue right out of that. So let's get into some news topics real quick. If you've been living under a rock somewhere, then you might not know BlizzCon was announced. And the tickets do go on sale Wednesday the 20th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And then again on April 23rd, which is a Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be universe.com is going to be the vendor. We don't really know what the fuck's going to go on with this vendor because there's not going to be a queue. So, may the odds be
as long as I get my ticket.
Yeah, exactly.
One for me, please.
How much are the tickets now? Anyway.
So $199 plus tax, which I think it comes out to like
$214.
$214, is it?
Yeah,
is
yeah.
340.
Well, it can't be 214. It'd be 216.
I don't know math.
216, 217.
Yeah.
I just threw a number out there.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, it's not terrible. The good news is we talked about last week. You guys can buy the ticket and then take care of your plane arrangements and housing. Bunk with a friend. Just make sure he's not gassy. Make sure he's got good hygiene habits. If you're bunking with this, that's never gonna happen again. Never again will I ever share a room with Hots and Lycan ever.
I can't believe you guys said that.
I can't believe I actually did that last year.
It wasn't that bad. I spooned with Hots the entire time.
It was so embarrassing. I woke up and they were cuddling. I didn't know what to do. It was fucking awkward. Also, once again, if you guys weren't on the internet today at all, Legion is coming. Yes. August 30th, which I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago. It's pretty much the month we figured. A lot of people were bitching that it's so far away, but I just figure, I mean, you want a good expansion, or, I mean, they could release it in June. Don't really know.
You guys played the alpha?
Yeah, I've been playing alpha.
It's not ready. Expansion game's not ready, guys. Like, what do you want? Another World to Draenor? Like, which zone do you not want to have for Legion to come out tomorrow? Like, that's the truth. It's like, does that suck? Yeah, but that's it. You know. Yeah.
I'm not blessed enough to get Legion, even though I've asked for Legion Alpha.
You're on the list. I don't know what else to do outside of.
I'm like the awkward guy staying out in front of the dance club. I swear, buddy, you're on the list. You're just not ready for you yet. But what upsets me, and I understand that the game's not ready, but we're running into another Mr. Pandaria with almost a year and a half of the same content, and they promised us this wasn't going to happen again, but. That's the only thing that frustrates me is that we're back into that same cycle of non-content for such a long period.
Who is this? The moose poop just said I sound like Sarah Palin. Is that fucking real life? Do I really sound like Sarah Palin?
There you go. Congratulations.
She sounds like a fucking idiot, so that hurts my feelings.
Can you see Russia from your backyard?
I mean, really, like, guys, the expansion is not ready. Like, anybody that's going to get upset about that, it's not ready. I think that, like, I've showed a lot of that on, like, my videos with, like, alpha and everything. There's just stuff, like, I mean, the guild bank IDs aren't ready. Like, I could go down the list. There's a million different things. Phasing doesn't work. And it's like, it's a complete unmitigated disaster. How long Hellfire Citadel...
I was going to ask that. When is beta?
That's just terminology. I wouldn't really worry about that too much. Like, the beta right now, like, the Warlords of Draenor Alpha compared to the Legion Alpha is more like the Warlords of Draenor Beta. So I wouldn't really worry about that too much. It's just terminology. Sure. But, I think that everybody knows that, Hellfire Citadel, it's going to be out for more than an entire year. And so, I don't know. Like, I don't think there's anybody that's happy about that, except for people who sell on the Arkham mount. Which actually is me. But I still want to get back to Legion. But
you would never do such a thing.
Why not? That's a lot of money.
That's valid. 100% fucking valid. If my guild could get that shit on farm, we would be making bank already.
Yeah, so $20,000 gold for like 3 hours. It's amazing.
Get your raid leader involved on it, but I don't know how we would do that.
We got a shitty fucking this guy, man. Who's our raid leader again?
I don't know.
This guy.
Well, you should probably set up a little bit, dude. I think people.
I am.
They're like,
your
snapback takes up a lot of fucking room in your.
It sure does. It takes up my whole screen.
Yeah, I wasn't. I think we thought August was going to be the case anyway. I think they wanted to do before September because that was everybody's expectation. But I think we pretty much already knew August was going to be the thing. It's not too terrible. We have the movie to look forward to stay us as far as WoW stuff goes. So it's not. I don't know.
Not a total loss.
I'm crying about it. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
I'm excited they at least announced it. I hope it is ready.
Somebody responded to my tweet and was like, well, didn't they learn their lesson in Warlords of Draenor with the servers crashing? And I'm like, well, that's weird because last year the lights went out in Walmart, the power went out, and I was stuck in line for an hour. But every fucking week I still go to Walmart, even though the power went out.
That actually is a very stupid thing to say for two reasons. The first reason is because they actually did increase the server capacity, which is what made flight take longer in 6.2.
Correct.
And the second reason that it's stupid is they just increased the server capacity 2 weeks ago, and that's why all the populations for the servers were showing at medium and not high. Mm-hmm. So it's double stupid.
Which some uninformed individuals have been posting in groups and on Twitter that all the subs are gone. That's why the population looks like that.
Yeah, they don't know what they're talking about.
They're uninformed.
Yeah.
Not the internet.
I mean, can you believe that somebody on the internet is talking about something they don't know about? Yeah.
The internet
Everything on the internet is right.
It's
okay.
all real.
It's all right.
And mermaids do
real
exist,
life.
guys. Mermaids do exist. There wasn't a whole lot of news. There's a lot of new Legion stuff that we're going to talk about. You get to play Bejeweled in the game with some pets. We're going to talk about that next week.
I didn't know that.
It's the fucking weirdest
Seems
thing.
pretty important.
I guess as a jewel crafter, it's a toy you get to craft, and you get to sit there and play fucking Bejeweled, which I don't know how I feel about that because I don't even.
Didn't Blizzard buy those people that made Candy Crush?
They did.
I heard
they
that
did.
too.
They did.
Yes, they
Oh,
So
that makes sense.
it's supposed to be like a means during like a dungeon queue or a LFR queue or a whatever bullshit.
While
queue
you're
you're
waiting for the
sitting-
next raid to come out.
So I mean, that's not a terrible.
It's mainly
There
meant
was
for
a-
all those DPS classes.
And there was actually an add-on years ago that I used to play during Wrath of the Lich King that was Bejeweled.
Oh,
And
I remember
you
that.
get on a flight path, and it'll automatically pop up, and you can sit there and play Bejeweled on your flight path.
I guess it's better than what I'm doing now, which is when I wait for a queue, I'm in my garrison running circles in my fountain because it's my garrison.
Yeah, I usually do that. Yeah, that's just usually the circles around there. Or occasionally, I'll just run into a wall for a couple hours. Yeah,
Is that in real life as well, or?
occasionally. Yeah, I mean, like after that Iron Man, like somebody's asking in chat about that Iron Man death. Yeah, I did that for a little bit of time too. So,
Poor guy. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah, that's really sad. I'm sad about that. Also, the last spec was finally unlocked in Legion. It is my spec, which is Destro. I will have some full information as far as what's available now because it's alpha, guys, so changes happening all the time. Alpha, let's not panic. I did get a little bit. Some of it was really like, ugh, I don't know what to do here, but it's going to be fine, and it wasn't totally terrible. It's just I have to swap as Destro. You get to pick and choose. Just like all the other classes, they redid it, so there's a lot of stuff you have to pick and choose that you used to have kind of constant. They brought a few things back that I was really excited to see, my Drain Life and my Life Tap, the Soul Shards and stuff like that, but I'll be able to kind of dive in. I haven't really played much of it. I'll be able to dive in next week for the walkthrough on that so you guys can see what Destro is looking like. So, in honor of Asmongold being here, the class hall we're going to be going through real quick is going to be the warrior class hall. So while Lycan is giving you guys, hitting you guys with some lore, I also have a nice little video to play for you guys while he's giving you his lore. If you're not into lore, I don't know what to tell you. Just sit there and smile. I don't know.
Smile.
That's what I do.
It's nice. It's lovely lore, and he's going to do it in his super sexy low voice.
Slow.
Fast after dark.
So weird when he does that. I'm excited and weirded out at the same time. Let's see. So the warrior hall is very, very beautiful. You get to see Odin's beautiful face. So Lycan, go ahead and take us away with the warrior class hall.
All right. So let's start off at the beginning. Let me tell you, there is not much lore on the class itself. I have done as much research as I can, found out some obscure references here and there. But for as long as war has raged, heroes from every race and class have aimed to master the art of battle. Warriors combine strength and leadership and a vast knowledge of arms and armor to wreak havoc in glorious combat. Some protect the front lines with shields, knocking down enemies, while allies support the warrior from behind with spell and bow. Others forego the shield and unleash their range of the closest threat in a variety of deadly weapons. The warrior's battle cries embolden friends and leave foes cowering in fear. With legendary precision, warriors target the small gaps in armor and slice at the hamstrings in a blur of steel. Every dragon slain, corrupt tyrant toppled, and demon banished from Azeroth had trembled in the face of these lords of war. Warriors are the quintessential fighters on the battlefield, and their pure martial arts inspire courage in allies and despair in enemies. Experts in all manner of melee weaponry and possessing incredible physical strength and skill, warriors are perfectly suited to serve as the frontline combatants and battlefield commanders. That's just about the entire lore segment that I could find on the actual lore of warriors themselves, but I did pull up some more information. We're going to talk a lot about today about the Halls of Valor, who Odin is, who Helya is, and why they matter to the warriors. Now, every playable race in Azeroth can be a warrior, from the mighty Tarn to the honorable human. Only the mightiest can master this class. Although, like baby pigeons, we're still not sure that gnome warriors really exist. From dual-wielding two massive two-handers to carrying a sword and a shield to protect their allies, warriors are the very versatile class, charging and leaping into battle and intervening on behalf of others and taunting. Let's see here. We know stories of legends and famous battles and the names that would put fear in anyone who would face them in battles. Names in their respective titles like High Chieftain Cairn and Bane Bloodhoof. Got Broxigar the Red Axe, Orgrim Doomhammer, War Chief Blackhand, Sorando and Lothar, the Lion of Stormwind, King Magni Bronzebeard, Marshal Reginald Windsor, Facing these foes in battle almost meant imminent defeat. Their weapons carrying with them a sense of dread as well, such as Doomhammer and Gorehowl, Elamane, which is Varian Sword, and Kel'Zaram, just to name a few. Now, Broxigar, just to let you know also, was once wielded a weapon made by Cenarium himself. He has still to this date been the only known mortal to use his weapon to wound Sargeras. But, someone will see, we'll see a lot of that the Halls of Valor and what Odin has done has left a very lasting effect on the warriors. Odin was a Titan keeper, and for the most powerful warrior, one of the most powerful warriors of Emmenthul. He, along with Tyr, fought back and defeated the powerful Fire Lord Ragnaros when they were going around trying to lock down the elemental lords and help contain them with the help of Helya. Odin was tasked with overseeing the installation of the Forge of Wills. Now, the Forge of Wills, if we remember, we also have the Halls of Origination. And these were basically two different things that they were basically made to create different Denzians of Azeroth. His task would be overseeing the prison of Yogg-Saron and maintaining the Forge of Wills, which is up in Storm Peaks, rather. These, amongst other Titan artifacts that helped the Keepers create life on Azeroth, were known as the Pillars of Creation. The Keepers, believing that the dragons Alexstrasza, Neltharion, Ysera, Malygos, and Nozdormu would be fine in protecting the fledgling planet. However, Odin had his doubts. He thought only Titanforge would be worthy and capable of its protection. He created an elite army to fill the ranks, a group of giants worthy of his leadership called the Vrykul. He kept the area of the Vrykul separate from the rest of Ulduar with the help of the sorceress Helya. He ripped the wing away from Ulduar and encased it into the sky, and it became what is known today as the Halls of Valor. These Vrykul would prove their bravery and would have their spirits, if they proved their bravery on the battlefield, would have their spirits transported to the halls, given new storm-forged bodies known as the Valahar. Studying the energies of the Shadowlands, he transformed them. Some of them he wanted to transform into the Vrykul. The Valkyr. So many different vowels whenever you're talking about this. He wanted to use that to actually ferry the souls of the dead back and forth between Azeroth and then up to the halls. However, he was not able to find any volunteers that would be cursed forever to serve as the Valkyr and have the Valkyrs and have them ferry these souls. So he did it by force. Now, Helya hated the Keeper for forcing his own servants to be transformed. Her and Odin almost went to war over this, but Helya threatened to move the halls back to Ulduar and said, "I'll be done with it." Well, Odin said, "Ain't nobody got time for that." And basically, he twisted Helya into this first Valkyr, darkening the very essence of her forever. And although she despised Odin for what he had done to her, she was forced to do his bidding for the rest of eternity. Other events happened between that point and the opening and the sealing of the halls. Basically, is what is called the Betrayal of Loken. We're going to go into that in another video, hopefully in the future here. But Loken had to deal with Odin in order to defeat the other Keepers. Loken had sought out Helya and asked for her help. And even though she still did Odin's bidding for millennia, she still hated him for it and what he had done to her. She dreamt of the day that she would exact her revenge. Loken had promised to break the chains that bound her to Odin. In exchange, she would seal off the Halls of Valor forever. Of course, she accepted the opportunity. Loken restored Helya's free will, and she used the same powers that she used to seal the elemental planes a long time ago. Even though Odin and Valahar had attempted to flee the Halls of Valor, they were trapped inside for eternity. Helya and her new Valkyr forged a new home, bound to the seas of Azeroth. This area she had called Helheim. However, not all the Valkyr followed Helya after Odin's defeat. And we just learned most of this information from the Chronicles book, that many had disappeared into the Shadowlands, but many that had remained on Azeroth to ferry the dead back and forth between the land of the living and the land of the dead. And we know these as players as spirit heroes. So they are followers of Helia that have remained here and still kept their honor intact in order to complete what they were made to do. Now, warriors, like most classes, will get 3 artifact weapons coming up in Legion. The first is the Arms Warrior in Stromgar, the Warbreaker. King Thoradrin, which was the founder of Stromgard and the Aerithar Nation, was the founder of the first nation in the Rathi Highlands. He had wielded this massive two-handed weapon and unified the nations finally under one banner. Now, although his sword was lost to fighting the Cathraxi under Tearsfall, it slowly sucked up the shadowy power that just resonated there. Those who master its power get an ability called the Warbreaker, which deals a massive amount of AoE damage and causes them to become, according to Blizzard, vulnerable. And for me, the only thing I could think of is some sort of Sunder armor that they used to have, and that used to be a major part of it. But that's the only thing I can imagine this vulnerability being. The next are the War Swords of the Valahar. And these are going to be for the Fury Warrior two-handed swords that they're going to be able to dual wield. These swords were crafted for only the best and the strongest among the Stormforged. Helia had stolen these weapons and taken them to use them to bring the warriors to Helheim. These weapons are Odin's Fury and Helia's Wrath. These weapons are both equipped and, when they're equipped, are both equipped rather, and grant the ability of Odin's Fury, which unleashes a fire damage AoE on enemies. Now, the Stormforged that we had just mentioned there, they were, when the warrior would die in battle and they were taken up into the Halls of Valor, their physical body was left behind and they were granted new bodies called the Stormforged. So these are the Denzians that we're going to see actually in the Halls of Valor there with Odin himself. The final one we have is the Protection Warriors getting the scale of the Earth Warder. What better shield than to have one made from the aspect of the Earth? Forged from a scale from Neltharion, Deathwing if you must, and carried into battle by the Vrykul King Magnar Icebreaker. The only reason that Magnar fell in battle at all was at the treachery of Helia. Now, this massive shield grants you the ability of something called Neltharion's Fury, which unleashes a fire from the shield, increasing its defensive stats. Its companion weapon is called Scale Shard, and there's very little information on that as well. But it's the scales of the Earth Warden is what we're really going after here. Just to finish up, what will you wield when your war chief calls upon you, and what will you choose when the king demands your service? Will be for the Alliance or the hero's car of Loktar Ogar, victory or death. And when the time comes for your commander to say, "Rest easy, lad, things look bleak now, but calm will follow a storm just as peace follows the war," will you die a hero's death, and will your name and spirit be remembered forever in the halls of valor?
You're totally trying to overshadow Jim, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Somebody said it, or did you practice? I said, yep, for 2 days.
Whoa, let's ask.
Legit.
What about?
That was awesome, man. I'm a warrior too, so obviously I've seen all the Halls of Valor and everything. And just like as a little bit of a note, the thing the Arms Warriors do, it applies Colossus Smash debuff.
Okay.
That's what it does.
Also, it was requested by Useless for you to do your Fury Warrior impression in WOD. They're wanting to know what it's like to play Fury Warrior.
Where's my Super Nintendo controller? It's somewhere over here. I can't quite reach it, but if I had a keyboard from over there, I'd roll my face on it. So that's the best you're gonna get for now.
Oh, poor Useless. It's like, damn it. Well, in light of that, hope you guys enjoyed that little walkthrough with the lore. I also turned the video on sooner than expected because the lore ran past the video, and Jim was being very rude in his box.
I thought I had my private moment. I did not know the video was over.
I didn't want anybody just because
I actually really enjoyed it, despite what it was a good all-around warrior.
Yeah, I don't warrior. I don't melee. It's awful. Me meleeing is just not. It's not in the cards for me.
Yeah.
What does Asmongold plan on leveling up first? Like, what are you
I
excited
don't know.
for?
Might just level up my monk.
Really? No.
Of course
No,
not.
I mean,
Playing my
right.
warrior.
No, I mean like spec wise. Like,
He's
are
like
you already
me with
set?
Warlock.
Fury,
Like
arms?
Warrior's his get
Oh.
down. He's not going to
Yeah.
abandon the
I'm gonna
warrior.
be playing Fury. It's the strongest spec right now. Arms is very good. I like it, but it's always been more of a PvE spec, or sorry, PvP spec, and also in certain situations in raiding. Whereas Fury is more of a solo spec because it has stronger self healing and more sustained damage. So I've always thought it was better. Lycan, do you know, is Odin the father of Thorim and sorry, is Odin the father of Thorim and Loken?
Okay,
As
so
it is in Norse mythology.
in Norse mythology, yes.
Yes.
In Warcraft,
Well, yeah.
he is the prime designate. Basically, him and Ra, and we dealt with Ra a little bit with what is that, Autumn and things like that. But with Ra, he's the one that created everything from the south, and Odin was pretty much dealing with the things in the north, with the keepers and those dealing with Aldwar. He was considered the prime designate, the best amongst
Aman'Thul's. Yeah.
Right. So Aman'Thul gave actually a little bit of his power to Odin and a little bit of his power to Ra to let them go ahead. And one was in charge of the Forge of Origination, the other one the Forge of Wills, which are basically two Titan forges that created what Ra created, the Mogu and those people down there.
Ra is Ra Din, I'm pretty sure. And Li Shin, the reason he's the Thunder King is because he was actually able to overpower and imprison Ra Din down at the bottom of Throne of Thunder.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and Odin is the one that he's basically, if you think of everything in Northrend and north of, let's say halfway point of the Eastern Kingdoms and Kalimdor, those Denzians that came from that area are from him.
Right. So like the Iron Dwarves and everything.
Right. The Iron Dwarves.
So Thorim and Loken were not necessarily sons, but they were kind of like Odin is kind of like the progenitor of Thorim and Loken. I see.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense.
When you get to the next level of keepers, you would get Thorm, Loken, Freya, Hodir, Mimron. Right.
Yes.
These guys are. It was Loken that actually betrayed all of them that wanted to go ahead and corrupted by Yogg-Saron, and he wanted to kill them. And what we find out in Chronicles is because they were actual Titans. They have the spirits of the Titans inside them. And they needed to get rid of Odin. They didn't know what was going on with Ra. He was doing his own thing, but they needed to get rid of Odin and lock him away in order for any of that to go on. For Loken, his betrayal, the whole thing was Sif. In order for him to get involved with that, he had to put Loken away, or Odin away. That's why he had it locked up. But when you look at Loken and Hodir and Thorim and the rest of them, that's all on one level. Odin and Ra would be like one right above that.
Yeah. It's kind of like in like Greek mythology, it would be like Zeus, and then like under that it would be like Ares, and the other like kind of lesser gods, but without kind of the familial relationship.
Yes.
Yes. No, I understand.
I'm glad you do, because I don't know. The only fucking lore I know is what Lycan tells me. That's literally it. I'm so retarded.
So bad.
It's awful, and pronouncing names is just, I forget about it because it's not going to happen.
You can't even spoke correctly anyways, so.
Anyway, moving on from that rude comment, probably true, but rude just the same. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Stop the Prune. I know that we covered it last week, week before, whenever all that stuff started coming out. We kind of talked about it. Now, the reason why I saved some of these, like the private server discussion, some talk we're having specifically with Asmongold, is because I like the way that he's able to kind of have a different kind of viewpoint, but have all of them at the same time. So I think that's something unique in, each of us here, we all feel pretty strongly one way or the other. But the video that I watched on your take on the Stop the Prune discussion, and kind of your view on it kind of changed my mind, because at first I was like, why is everybody bitching? This is just the nature of change. This is what it is. I don't understand why everybody's getting on here and we're crying about it. But I realized I wasn't informed of kind of how, like, the whole weight of what was happening with some of these iconic spells that were being taken, changing some of the ways that we play because they think it fits better into the fantasy, but essentially they're taking away a lot and scaling it, kind of dumbing it down, I think, is the fear, that we're making it so easy that anybody can just pick up the game and not have to struggle to learn it, which you should. I think that's a rite of passage with it being difficult. I don't want anything handed to me. I want to really, really work hard for it. So in light of that, I wanted to kind of get your take on the Stop the Prune and what it's about, what could it change, what should be better, how it should be approached as far as Blizzard's concerned, and then we could kind of hash out how everybody else is feeling about it.
Well, I think that the best way to start off this is to say that not all evolution is good. Like, some evolution is mutation. And so I guess, like, really what I'm trying to say there is that not all of the decisions that Blizzard makes are good. Not all change is good. There have been lots of changes that I think have been negative to the game. And so I think that, like, really, like, whenever I first heard this and I had already played the Legion Alpha, I was like, it's not really too big of a deal. But there have been some things that Blizzard has done, it seems, in terms of, like, the spells and everything, it seems like they're just changing things for the sake of change. One example of this is that warriors have, like, a big cooldown recklessness. It basically gives them, like, a high crit chance and, like, makes them do a little bit more critical strike damage. And they renamed recklessness to battle cry. And there's really no reason for that. And I understand that recklessness has, like, a connotation of also kind of taking more damage at the same time. But since it's been named this for the entire game, and then to change it, it seems like, again, just change for the sake of change. And I think with, like, what Sidu was the person who started the Stop the Prune thing, himself and yeah, a lot of the other, like, big PvPers. Obviously, like, they have a completely different, I guess, like, mindset of what they want and don't want to see in the game, because they're playing on a very competitive level. And so the more buttons there are, the more keybinds you have to have. And in that aspect, I think that in Mists of Pandaria, you had way too many keybinds. Everybody had to have, like, one of those Razor Nagas, really, in order to keybind everything. It was very hard to do. And that's obviously too much. And in Warlords of Draenor, a lot of abilities were cut out. And I think the best point in the game where, I guess, like, the balance between, like, having too many buttons and having not enough buttons was probably somewhere between, like, Wrath of the Lich King and Cataclysm. And ever since then, like, they just add more and more and more. And so obviously, like, whenever something gets taken away, there's going to be a lot of people who are upset about that. Because, like, that's obviously going to be some sort of utility. Like, warriors are losing spell reflect outside of PvP. That's a big disappointment. But, I think that Blizzard is trying to make the game more accessible for more types of players. Now, whether that's a good thing or not is debatable. And in a lot of ways, I don't necessarily think that it is, because WoW is not a MOBA. And so if people come into the game and they think that it's going to be like a MOBA, but then you have to level up, you have to get this better gear, and there's all these other, like, kind of like mini games kind of that you have to play that are outside of PvP. I think that the people who come in thinking it's going to be like a MOBA are going to be disappointed. And so in that way, I'm really kind of worried about them trying to attract a type of audience into the game that isn't necessarily going to stay. Especially, it seems counter to their business model, considering it is a subscription business model. So, there's a lot of, I guess, like, there's a lot of nuances that go into, like, is this a positive change? Is it a negative change? And I think really what it comes down to is the way that it's implemented. As long as the spec is fun to play, like, Fury Warriors right now on the Legion Alpha are extremely fun to play. I really enjoy it. I like playing it more than I like playing my Fury Warrior on Live, and my Fury Warrior on Live has more buttons. So obviously there isn't really a correlation between more buttons and more fun. Right. But at the same time, whenever I think it's like Affliction locks, they lose tons of mobility at the same time. And, sorry, I got a phone call. They use tons of mobility and also a lot of different rotational abilities. It's very hard for them to kind of, you go from Warlords of Draenor, from Mists of Pandaria, where Warlocks were in an amazing spot. There's, like, tons of abilities, like for Affliction and Destro, and then Warlords of Draenor took away a lot of those buttons. I think we talked about that before, Sam. And now, again, it's going to be in Legion. You're going to be losing even more buttons, even more utility. Wow. And it's just going to be...
With Destro, they're making me pick and choose between a lot of utility, and I'm a PvPer, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to gain some of that back in the PvP talents, but I think everybody's worry is it's not necessarily less buttons, but I think... So World of Warcraft should be a commitment, right? It should be like a marriage. This isn't something that you just pick up and put down.
Well, I think that it has to be... In my opinion, I think that what made Vanilla WoW and what made Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King to a similar but lesser extent such an amazing game is that you logged into that game and you got out of that game what you chose to get out of it. And ever since Mists of Pandaria, and now especially in Warlords of Draenor, and they're continuing that trend in Legion with like kind of facilitating what weapons you have, directing the narrative of your character and your everything like that. They're kind of putting you on, I guess, like the roller coaster tracks, and now you're in a theme park, whereas before you were in a sandbox. And I don't think that necessarily having a completely sandbox environment is a good thing. There should be some rails, but I think that there's just too many at this point. A casual player back in vanilla could go in and they didn't need to worry about all this stuff, a commitment. They could play 3 or 4 hours a day and just progress at their own pace. That's fine. I think that really what Blizzard should do more than anything is make sure that the game is rewarding. And not that you have to have a commitment, not that you don't have to have a commitment. I think that's kind of irrelevant. Make sure that whenever people play the game, they feel good and they feel good about moving forward. I think that's what's important.
Well said.
I think that's well said. What about you guys? I know that we talked about it a little bit, but I think it'd be nice to kind of hear your guys' viewpoint, or maybe even your fear of what happens when these abilities are changing. Lycan?
I'm an original Death Knight player from, like I said, as soon as I got my level 80, we needed a tank, and I remember the bloat of Wrath of the Lich King, and yes, there was quite a lot of it. The amount of spells, I mean, there's pretty much all 3 classes, or all 3 specs rather, had the same amount of spells, and a lot of it crossed over, and I liked when they did some of the pruning back then. But I have a fear that I'm going to lose a lot of the identity of what a Death Knight is with just the limited amount of resources that I'm going to have. And it's I don't know. I don't like change. And when the Cataclysm change came in with the whole war, yes, I know I'm old.
No, but the Cataclysm was a huge
issue
for me as well, because they changed the way Destro played. A large part of the way Destro played. I logged in and I didn't log back in for 6 months. I was like, fuck this. I'm not dealing with all of this. So,
when we first started off, I was horrified because I was all through Wrath of the Lich King. I loved the fact that I could be a Death Knight that was a Frost Death Knight that was a tank. And I did not like going Blood DK tank because you had a lot of, especially with AoE abilities, that you had a lot more AoE tanking as a Frost DK, and I really appreciated that. But then they came back in, like we get to the sandbox discussion, this is, okay, well, if you're going to be a tank, this is what you're going to need to be. And that one, to me, I think that's not what the whole Death Knight experience was supposed to be to begin with. It was to take you outside of what the original classes were and how the original classes operated, that the abilities for me to pull from the different trees and the different abilities from each spec made me very unique. And then when I got into Cataclysm, and they said, okay, well, if you're going to tank, you're going to be Blood. If you're going to be DPS, you're going to do this. And back then it was if you wanted to go PvP, you were going to be Unholy. And I sat there and I went, it's completely ruined the aura of what a Death Knight used to be. What I fear is that they're going to go ahead and even dumb it down even more to the point where, what is my ability as a Death Knight? What do I bring to the table that a warrior or paladin can't bring?
What's different? What's
right.
setting me apart?
The big thing is right now is Gorfine's Grasp. That's the big thing that Death Knights bring that nobody else can bring. It's one of the strongest abilities in the entire game.
Agreed.
Death Knights at the beginning of Wrath of the Lich King were extremely overpowered, and I think that one of the reasons for that is because every single spec was built to also tank. And I also think that it's true that like you could play any spec really. But whenever you actually broke it down, because I was like in a progression guild back then, we got like Immortal Black Drakes and everything, you had to be Blood in order to tank Sartharian 3 Drakes. You had to be Frost in order to tank. Like, Unholy was more of like the AoE tanking, Frost was more of the in-between traditional boss, and Blood was more of the high health pool, big hits, absorption. And so everything always is going to come down, it's going to filter down to a best. And so in a way, like, I'm not really surprised that they're making these changes. Like, back then, whenever Blood Death Knights or Death Knights in general came out, I also like leveled one up as soon as I hit 80 on my warrior. I had a lot of fun. You had maggots coming out of you. I mean, like, it really felt like you're a Death Knight, and now it seems like you're a warrior with black spells. And blue ones if you're Frost. It doesn't really seem, it doesn't have the same kind of I guess, like fantasy to it, and having all those extra abilities, like you remember like necrotic blight or whatever it was, like the swarm that would go around you. Like that didn't really do that much damage, but it made you feel like a Death Knight. And I think that having those extra buttons is really important in creating that class fantasy.
I would click that button not even knowing what it did, just because it looked cool on the screen.
Yeah, I'm worried that they're going to get rid of buttons that make people feel like they're a Death Knight, and I want them to add more buttons into the game that kind of create that class fantasy without necessarily making your rotations more complex.
And I was like completely horrified when we used to have our spell for our raised dead that we used to have when we had an ally died. We used to be able to bring them up for 2 minutes, and they would fight as a ghoul by your side.
Yes,
and that was a great ability, and that was a unique use of, sometimes you didn't have that full res. I mean, you could bring them up for 2 minutes. It was 2 minutes of very powerful fighting, but when they took that away, I think then. We lost a lot of identity, and that's when, in my opinion, is when it started going, and they starting with the, whittling down. Now, granted, we were very powerful. We were supposed to be the hero class at first, and that's how they had introduced us, and we were going to be.
Still crying about DKs?
No, but I think we.
He has reason to. They were amazing.
Right, but I think we had to dial it back because we were way overpowered. It
Yes.
was to the point where if you saw a DK going up, you're looking, I'm going, well, we'll just bring a DK and he'll help push us over the DPS limit of 8, or we'll bring a DK in for a PvP section because he's going to do a lot better than most, all the other melee classes, or, it was way overpowered.
Death Knights were really not that strong outside of Season 5 and the first tier. Season 6, I think Death Knights were relatively balanced. I think Warriors are probably a little bit stronger than them, actually, at that point. And even with Shadowmourne, because at that point the blood tree had been redesigned to be the two-handed tree. And so you had to basically play blood to have Shadowmourne and to use it effectively, and that kind of effectively nerfed its effectiveness.
Right.
So I don't remember Death Knights really ever being top damage. Like, one thing, what they were really good at is having multiple types of utility. So they were really good tanks, and they also had very good DPS. So, if you went up against one in PvP, it was like, wow, I can't beat this guy. It's ridiculous. Like, they had Death and Decay glyph where it would fear you over and over. It was a joke. And I don't even know how it made it to life.
Superior mitigation. I remember in Mists of Pandaria, we always required a DK tank for mitigation purposes alone, just so we didn't have to deal with healing the tank.
Death Knights were terrible in Mists of Pandaria.
Lycan was amazing. We never had to heal him, ever.
He was actually really good.
Well,
Literally, we never had to heal him.
I don't
Maybe
really
that's
think
skill cap. Maybe it's Lycan skill.
Skill.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just always assumed all DKs are like
Death Knights were very good. They had very strong self-healing, but there were a lot of kind of insta-give mechanics, like decapitate on not leash, yes, on Li Shin and stuff like that. And also Death Knights had very limited mobility. So I honestly think that outside of Season 5 and maybe a couple of other places in the game, Death Knights have been in a very, very good spot in terms of their power comparative to other classes. Right. Maybe a little bit, few times, much stronger as a tank in certain situations. But honestly, I think the Death Knights have been in a good spot ever since Season 6 in Old War, give or take. But with the abilities and everything, that's a completely different discussion. The abilities, I think they really did lose something in Mists of Pandaria. Like in Cataclysm, it was like, right. But Wrath, it was great. Cataclysm, Mists of Pandaria, not so good. And now they're... I mean, if they don't have Gorfine's Grasp, what's the point?
For the two gentlemen that are very polite and need to learn how to interrupt.
Hey,
don't just interrupt.
Good little segment, man.
I'll go on. Like, you see my
videos? He has.
So, what do you guys? Is there any fears that you guys have regarding any ability pruning? Is there? I mean, you all have your own class. Everybody here has a specific class.
Well, that's the
Jim,
thing
you're
with
a really
me.
terrible
I've
monk.
lost.
So
This is the thing. I don't know if this is a problem. Like, I don't really have anything extra to add to what those guys just said because they said it very well. But I don't really have a main anymore. Like, you guys all have your main, and of course you play other characters. But Warrior, DK, Warlock. I used to be the Hunter or Resto Druid. Now I'm just kind of the class that people need. Like, you refer to me as the monk. I haven't played the monk that long. So I don't know if that's a problem itself. Maybe another topic.
RPGs, though.
I'm amazing. Well, I'd rather be a Resto Druid, let's be very clear. But I don't know if that's a problem, probably unrelated. But I don't have anything extra to add to the Stop the Prune topic than those guys just said.
You've been here a really long time. You've been going through a lot of motions when it comes to WoW.
Yeah, I mean, I've been there for BC, Lich King. I stopped Kata. I came in halfway through Mist. So yeah, I was there for talent trees. I was there for the struggle of learning how to pick your spells and pick what was most important to what spec you were playing at the time. I miss the talent trees, to be honest. I mean, that made you who you were, and that was a lot of.
But
I liked
has
it.
to change. We have to change.
No, of course,
we have
and I
we
get
have
that.
To make it better.
Right, and did it make it better to? And everyone has their own opinion about it to a degree. I mean,
No.
I mean, go ahead. Oh, you? Was that you?
No, one word.
Nope.
No.
You said it.
I mean,
gonna
So you
hell
like the old talent trees, is what you're saying?
I did.
Of
I
course,
really did.
yeah. I think it was better. I think they should have been a
miss those.
component. I think they should have been added on top of the original talent trees. They should have added like a separate, like kind of, I don't know, like a separate, like the Path of the Titans. Like they just renamed Path of the Titans,
Yeah.
or they just use Path of the Titans as like, okay, you can either have Bladestorm or Avatar or something like that, and not get rid of those original talent trees, because I think that getting rid of them removed a lot of the reward and leveling. I remember back in the day, like you'd wait until you get like level 28 or 29 or something, and you get like some awesome ability.
Yeah.
And now you just don't.
One more point to put somewhere.
Yeah. You get one more point to just click it in there. And
Yep.
whenever Blizzard does it for you, it just doesn't feel as good.
Agreed with that.
Yeah.
Do you
I
feel
mean-
like the new? Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about Legion talk. Before we get into Legion talk, because I'm pretty excited about that in general, I wanted to talk a little bit about this server shutdown. Now, I went on record the other day and
Whoa,
in a
on
very
record?
public fashion on my Facebook and pissed off a whole bunch of people. Everybody's freaking out because Bell has a fucking opinion. All I simply said regarding this server being shut down that is not Blizzard sanctioned, all I said was simply that it was illegal. That's it. I wasn't saying yay or nay. I wasn't saying anything. All I said is just the baseline. Let's have some reality so that everybody was aware. I'm not calling them criminals. I didn't say they were assholes. All I said is, regardless, it's illegal. If somebody was taking something I developed, doesn't matter if they were getting profit for it or not, in my point of view, I'd be very upset to find it somewhere else.
I have the exact quote right here, actually. You want me to read? No, I don't have it.
However, I do understand that there's a lot of emotions attached to it. And with that, I wanted Asmongold to give us his point of view as far as kind of the good, the bad, and the in-between.
Nostalrius thing?
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, so if you guys don't know, Nostalrius is a private WoW server. It started WoW. It pretty much like the patches were gonna go in the same order and basically at the same time as the original WoW patches. And so, mid 2005, they'd release AQ or something like that, and they would just kind of like replicate that with this server. So a lot of people really got into this. It had over 800,000, 900,000, I don't remember which one, registered accounts. It also had 150,000 active players or active accounts. Now, there have been a lot of people saying that, some of them are gold farmers, some of them are not gold farmers. I think that just the amount of people who are watching videos about it and, the huge amount of like BBC covered this. This is a huge, big deal. And so I don't really think it was just like a couple of nerds who got mad that they couldn't steal their game from Blizzard anymore. It's just like, it's not what it was. Now, of course it was illegal. And the server was based in France. And it doesn't really matter like what version of the game it is or anything like that. Blizzard has sole distribution rights for their IP, their intellectual property, and they did not give Nostalrius those distribution rights. And because the Nostalrius server was hosted in France, and France is in the EU complies with US copyright laws, it got shut down through a cease and desist. Those are just the facts. Now, everybody kind of knows that, and I don't really want to go through that too much, and so I think that we all can be in agreement that what they did was illegal, and it could also potentially take revenue away from Blizzard. I've had a lot of people tell me that, they're not going to lose any revenue, Blizzard's not going to lose any revenue, when I've seen pictures, I've seen comments of people saying that I quit playing on retail servers to play on Nostalrius. Mm-hmm. That's $15 that Blizzard doesn't get, and even if that happens like once or twice, that's still money that Blizzard isn't getting for something that they rightfully should get the money for. Now, I understand that people say, I honestly, I don't really have too much of a response for somebody who said that, I bought the vanilla WoW, so I want to just be able to play that game. And I don't really entirely have too much of a response for that, but, WoW is kind of it's an evolving game. And, again, like whenever you buy the game, that's kind of what you agree to. And that's really all there is to it. But I think that underlying this is a much bigger and much more important conversation. Soda Poppin' recently has been talking about this signature thing, and I want to be perfectly clear, guys. Like, the petition itself is going to not probably do anything. Okay, it's not like if we get like a certain amount of signatures, like Obama's going to get involved, and we're going to have this in the next State of the Union. It's just not going to happen.
Come on,
right?
it
Maybe
can
next
happen.
year. Yeah. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous. But what that petition shows is it's in a lot of ways, companies do market research where they gauge the amount of people who would be potentially interested in a certain product. And showing 200,000 or 150,000, over 100,000 for sure right now, I think it's over 150,000 signatures for people who want to pay for a certain product, that is really, really big. And I think that any company that just dismisses that as nostalgia or anything like that is really missing out on a big opportunity. Now, should Blizzard actually implement these legacy servers? There's a lot of arguments for it and against it, and I think that it really depends on how they introduce them. Personally, I'd like to see the legacy servers do in kind of a rotation, like every 3 years they'd reset them. I think that's what would make sense as kind of a season thing, and that would give people a sense of urgency, so people don't just get all the way up to max and quit, and they can do it again.
Or sit there, really.
Yeah, and just sit there. And I think that would be a pretty interesting thing for them to do, but I can see why they wouldn't do that. But there's a lot of nuances here, and a lot of things that people might not really be entirely taking into account, and myself included. It's a very, very complex issue, and there's a lot of people who have really, really strong feelings on it one way or another. Now, I personally did not play on this server because there are a number of reasons. But one, because I thought it would get shut down. They almost always do get shut down.
Yeah.
Also, I couldn't make videos about the server because it would my videos would get DMCA'd because it's not Blizzard doesn't allow you to do that, right? So that's kind of a lose-lose for me. And whether I would kind of want to go on there and kind of relive the past in a way. And I do think that the game had something then that it doesn't have now, and I think that what a lot of the people on Nostalrius, on the subreddit and everything for it, and a lot of the big people, like my boy Alex and a lot of other ones, are talking about is the sense of community.
I was just about
and the
to say
sense of
that.
community, the sense of real important, lasting, meaningful character progression, in-game progression that matters. I think those three things, especially in-game progression, sense of community, and social interaction, those two things are what's going to make an MMO great or make it a disappointment. And I think that
those relationships is
yes,
super
cultivating and Blizzard. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people who are introverted that play World of Warcraft, and allowing
I
giving
think you might
people-
be an introvert. I'm gonna throw that out there.
It depends. Sometimes I spend all day in my
Depends on
little
the day.
room. Sometimes I leave the house.
Yeah, I don't
But either way, I think that there are a lot of people who, it really gives them something. They can grow not only as a player, getting more levels and everything like that, getting into a dungeon, but they grow as a person, being able to interact with other people. And, they make those friendships. And, how many people have you heard saying that I'm gonna quit the game, but I would quit the game, but I've got my friends that play. That's what really ties people in. Like the gap between Sunwell and because most people just did Karazhan for the entire Burning Crusade, and people didn't really quit that much in Karazhan, even though they were doing it over and over and over. Maybe Gruul Slayer
Karazhan
on
was
weekend.
fun, actually.
Karazhan was fun. That's a bonus. But also they had their friends that they were in the guilds with, and they got on and they had fun on Vent back then or TeamSpeak or whatever, and they had those lasting relationships that tied them into the game. And if you don't have those ties into the game, I just think it's going to be really easy to walk away from.
But what if we lived in a world where people actually did that now? Because we do it. My guild is going strong because we built a community. I have people that sub specifically because they're in the guild. What if people stop being lazy fucks and actually put into the community that we have now instead of constantly looking back, right?
Well, see, here's the thing, though. Is that what I'm trying to make a distinction here? Is that back in the days, back in Vanilla and Burning Crusade, you had to group.
Right.
You had to play
I
with
get
other
what you're
people.
saying.
That was a requirement. You could
you
not
had to go there.
succeed without interacting with people, and that's how it should be in an MMO.
And then they
It's like you
changed it
don't
with
play
LFR.
COD expecting not to shoot people. You shouldn't play an MMO expecting not to make friends, or at least associates. You know, I mean, you should have to do that. And Blizzard's saying that it's okay to have a single player experience with your garrisons. You know, I mean, you've got these people that talk to you; they're not even real players. You know, and it's just it's ridiculous. And you know, the more that they allow the single player experience to dictate, you know, how the game goes, the more people that they're going to have that don't feel like they're attached to the game in the same way that maybe we used to be.
You have a point, because I didn't go into my first instance until LFR was introduced, because I started on a PvP server, which was Natherzim, and people aren't nice on that server. Nobody ever talked to me. I didn't make friends. This was when you had to have a group and you had to physically go to the instance. I didn't even know what a dungeon was because nobody was ever nice to me. It just is what it is. I'm not crying about it.
You just killed bunnies all day.
Yeah, like I just literally just hit shit with sticks because I didn't even, my first was when it was introduced, when the dungeon queue happened.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are a lot of people who are like that.
My own fault, though. I could have went and sought it out, right? I could have went and been like, "Hey, you're cool. Let's be besties if I seen you in Stormwind." But I was super shy, so I didn't.
I know, like, what happened with me is that, like, I was trying to do Dead Mines, and I couldn't do Dead Mines alone, and so I had to make friends. Like, you had to do it. And, you know, that's really kind of what tied me into the game. And, you know, like, I recently, like, I was playing, Black Desert Online, and I would have quit that game before I even hit level cap if I didn't find a cool guild. And I think there's a lot of people who feel that way, where even if the gameplay doesn't keep them engaged, the community will. And you can't just say that people are lazy or whatever, because that's what I was saying about the introverted thing. Allowing people and giving those avenues where people really do kind of have to step out of their shell, you know, that's what really ties them into the game and gives them it's like the moments you remember in life are usually the ones where you kind of have to step outside of your comfort zone, and especially you remember them whenever you step outside your comfort zone and you're rewarded for it.
Sure.
And I think that the game really did that back then, and it just it doesn't have that same
it's kind of fell off.
Same appeal.
We live in a toxic community, though. You can't even ask a question in trade chat, no matter what server you're on, without getting 10 fucking mothers. Literally. Like,
yeah, but you'll get a PST with a good response, though, too.
You
so
will. That's correct.
That to me, that's not what I've experienced. And I'm on Kel'Thuzad. Kel'Thuzad is notoriously probably the most toxic server in the entire world. You know, everybody, like, you just go in there and people are spamming, like, racial slurs and in trade chat. Like, everything is bad. Like, you go, every run is a ninja run. You know, it's just like, it's what to be, it's expected, right? And, you know, even on my server, there are people who want to help each other all the time. And so this whole idea that there's a toxic community, I think, is overblown. And I think that somebody can have a very bad experience. I've had a lot of bad experiences, but I don't want to extrapolate those experiences to say that the entire game is like that.
Right.
There are a lot of... Though, it's a lot more than it used to be. I think we can agree on that.
Yeah. The community back then, like during Vanilla BC, even Lich King, it was more open to, like, hey, I'll help you out. Where I say... I mean, like I said, I wasn't there for Kata, but from Mists of Pandaria to Warlords, I mean, it's impossible to have someone like even... I know we have the group finder and you can go to someone's garrison to use an enchanting hut, but people call it out all the time in general chat and no one responds.
And this is
the people that do are the people that are original, that have been there for the longest time, that know the struggle of how it was. And those are the people like, hey, yeah, let me invite you to my group. And that's really rare. And I'll say I'm one of the few people that actually do that. I've given people gold just because they don't have any. I don't know these people. They could be flying out of their ass, but it's just that's the type of community that I'm a part of, that I've been a part of. I'm part of it because of Bell, because of Lycan, even Jimma. You know, it's just it's kind of like a dying breed, and a lot of people don't get to experience that unless they become a part of a guild. And a really good guild is really hard to find nowadays.
It's the exception, not the rule.
It ties into what I was saying about, like, having to be in a social environment. Like, if you were in Dead Mines and you were need rolling on everything and you were, you know, just being the dick all the time, you just get kicked out. And then now how am I gonna get, well, not perps, but how am I gonna get my blue gear? You can't get it because you kept acting like a dick. And so back then you could only act like, you know, just this much of a dick. You know, whereas now you can do whatever you want. And I'm not really saying that this is like kind of... I think that the community might be a little bit more toxic, but I think the community is more... I think a better word for it is impatient.
Yeah,
and,
that's
you know, we have...
Instant gratification people.
Well, I mean, your dungeons are supposed to be done in like 10 minutes. I know, like, I mean, if a dungeon doesn't take 10 minutes, I'm mad. like I'm mad. Like I'm going through like every single pull. I'm doing like 5 pulls at the same time. Somebody's AFK, kick him out. You know, they're out of here.
The healer has no
Somebody
mana.
else in
It's his
here.
fault.
He's got a
Figure it
blue. Why? Get him out of here. You know, oh no, I don't play around. And I'm really serious about that stuff. And I've always been like that. Even in vanilla, I was like that. But I've always been kind of the minority with that stuff. But now there have been a lot more people like me. And I think that back then, you didn't really have that luxury of just being continuously toxic. And also what David was saying is that back then, some people helped me whenever I was getting up to 60. And so you're more used to being helped by people and having people help you. And what facilitated that environment was the game mechanics and the game systems. And now the game systems just don't facilitate an environment where you have to rely on and you have to help and be helped by other people.
What would you propose in moving into the future of World of Warcraft with the changes? We're going to talk about Legion after this, but what would you, in your mind, Asmon, what would you propose that World of Warcraft could do to change the direction that it seems to be spiraling in? Let's pretend you worked for Blizzard. What would you do to force change? Would you remove the queues and force people to group back up and go to the instance?
Is this like my perfect expansion?
This is like we're letting you like build a bear and you get to build an expansion.
I would completely remove all of the raid difficulties except for one. Yep. Every single raid difficulty back down to 1. Raids would be consecutive. You would go from one raid to another raid rather than going from one raid to the same raid. Also, on top of that, I would bring back a lot of group quests to level up, and I give them, very big incentives. I would remove the level 100 boost. I would definitely do that. I would remove heirlooms as well, or I would at least make heirlooms not. They would make them like potions or something like that you could reuse and not actually gear, to get rid of people's, the sense of like actually like gear progression throughout the, progressing your character throughout the game. And let's see, after that, really I think it's the raid difficulties is one of the big ones, and then making entry level raids to replace, like LFR and stuff like that, similar to how Max 10 was in Wrath of the Lich King. It was easy. I mean, you could just, you could be a complete moron and complete Nax 10, right? And so I think that's really, and what the difference is that for one, it doesn't facilitate toxic behavior like what you were saying with like just AFKing all the time and just getting loot and need rolling on everything. There's more accountability. Like if somebody did that in my run, I just kick them out. That's it. It's done. And so it kind of facilitated and got rid of those people, and it also creates a lot of animosity and resentment. Whenever you're in a group and you have somebody who's intentionally not trying, who's not doing what they want to, they're not even at their keyboard, they're watching Netflix while everybody else is creating the content for them, or they never took the time to spend 5 minutes to learn their class, and it's not a good experience for anyone, and it doesn't keep people in the game. And, so I would make raids progressive. And I would also make entry-level raids, so, more casual players were able to go in there and do them very easily. You basically just need a pug, and maybe for some hard modes, as well, like very similar to Old War. Mm-hmm. And so those would be some really big improvements I'd like to see, is more emphasis on group questing, more emphasis on progressive in-game systems, and also I would make rewards while you're doing something in a guild, like leveling in a guild or something like that, like leveling in a guild group. I would like triple the experience under like level 60 or something like that. We talked about this recently. Me and Lycan specifically, we talked about I would like them to focus a little bit more on the guild aspect of it. Yep. And not just because I'm a guild master, but I think that's
it's just a title now.
It's a forgotten thing, right? We strive every day to keep like the bonds of brotherhood and what really a guild is about. A lot of people come into our guild that are new that just don't understand what a guild's about and start acting like a bunch of assholes, and we have to school them real quick on maybe you weren't around, when guilds were first created and really what they were all about. But I would like to see Blizzard focus a lot more on the guild aspect as well, ways to help continuously cultivate that instead of just being about numbers, right? Anybody can say, we have our first max guild, we're working on our second guild on Argent Dawn. Anybody can say that these days because it's just numbers. There's no forethought when you're dealing with recruiting or anything like that if you're not a world first guild, right? I'm speaking. Well, we don't really recruit people randomly, but they just show up at the door knocking with fucking chocolate milk, and I'm like, you're in. I don't add up tacos. But I would like to see them. I agree with you. I think a lot of focus. We talked about my dream is to have a guild hall, right? My dream is to have a coexisting place for guilds to be able to port to, that you could go in and you could see, you know, you'd have the guild bank and you'd have a personal bank and be able to, oh, there's
Basically like the garrison, but guild,
just for
guild-wise.
for your guild, that would be just a congregation place where people could just easily teleport, do their business. And I mean, I guess they're kind of doing that with the class halls basically, but I would
That's
like to see a lot.
That's not how it's going to be.
I would like to see a lot more focus on the guild aspect. If nothing else, they removed a lot of perks, which is great. I didn't care about half the shit that they took out. The money perk, nobody cares about that because we have creative ways of raising money for the guild bank. But
back then they didn't. That was the most creative way to get gold.
They took a lot of. They haven't put back into the guild. Why do you even need to be in a guild then, outside of the hardcore aspects of WoW, right? What's the focus?
Well, they could do a thing where if you killed like a raid boss in a guild group, you got twice as much loot, or you get like 2 extra pieces or something like that. So incentivizing group play, and then also creating group quests. And so like group quests would maybe like you would be able to get like guild levels, the same as we used to have. And so a certain amount of guild levels would give you an extra bonus roll each week. And you know, doing a guild quest would require like, let's say now like 5,000 true iron ore. And so you would have to get enough people into the guild. And yeah, it would be bad for small guilds. It's too bad. I mean, there's nothing they can do that's going to make everybody. There's nothing that's going to do that's going to make everybody happy. That's just a fact.
And I think you hit the nail on the head there. And I'm going to argue with you on a lot of your points you made throughout this. And about 90% of what you said, I would have to either slightly or partially disagree with.
Okay. We got ourselves a chick fight.
We're going. I'm sitting there. I've been biting my tongue this entire time. But I mean, a healthy argument is good.
Agreed.
No, yeah, I definitely agree. Okay.
LFR and the rating issue. I do like the different difficulties of rating. I do think it does set apart different groups. I think that there are guilds out there that should not be doing mythic rating. If you do not have the skill set or the ability to do so, I don't think the mythic should be dumbed down at all. I think that that's out there for that few top percent that says, look, yes, I can do this. But as for the LFR and getting rid of it, I 100% disagree with you on that.
Okay. Why?
With LFR, this is not the same game it was 10 years ago. There's the time that people can put into the game, and when you have falling numbers like Blizzard has right now, you can't, in a business mind, you cannot say, okay, look, you need to dedicate 12 to 16 hours a week to downing a raid, and we're going to use Molten Core for an example because I'm going to come back to it later, but you can't dedicate 12 to 16 hours of your week to downing all the bosses of Molten Core to be that progression raider. And I understand that. And I can see that as a business aspect, opening up that end game rating aspect to more players. Because if you have, I'm going to use my brother-in-law as an example. He loves to raid. He does not have the time to put into raiding.
Okay.
Do I think they should give the same or even close to the same rewards per boss or out of the entire LFR that you would get either out of normal, heroic, or mythic? Absolutely not. I don't think you should have the same stats on it. Kind of like what they did this expansion, where LFR you had generic stats. You know, if you were a melee class plate, but if you're a melee plate, you got 500 strength. You didn't get 500 strength plus this cooldown. No, it was you were a melee plate. This is what you got. I really like that aspect. It gives these people that do not get that chance to see rating on a normal aspect, a chance to see that end game content. But not only does that, but how many people do you know of now that raid either normal, heroic, or mythic that said, I would have never known what rating was if I never tried LFR?
Zero.
And I know a lot.
Do you think there should be like an in-between?
I do. Because here our drove is back down to the same thing.
Happen in between. What do you?
No, I mean, but that's what I'm saying. So, like a little bit with. Sorry to interrupt you, so for instance, Belle never did any rating content because there was no LFR. Gave her the chance to do that or whatever, because a very small percentage was doing rating in general. But I think what Asmongold's saying, do you need 4 versions of it? So maybe you can still have the LFR and then just have the actual raid of it, instead of having 4 of the same version. But sorry, continue.
I didn't get anything back in my effort back then when I didn't have friends because I didn't try. I didn't go and seek out friends. I wanted them to come to me. I was lazy. I didn't go and seek that out because it didn't matter to me then. But now, if I were to talk to my old self, I would have went and sought that out so that I could do those kind of runs.
But only 10%.
Didn't.
Well, let's break it down and approach each thing at a time. So your first point was that because people don't have as much time, that Blizzard should create a facility for people to play more, to experience in-game content. Is that correct?
Well, it allows those who have never had the opportunity before to experience that end-game content. Absolutely.
And what was preventing them from doing that before?
The amount of time that you would have to spend to put into it. And like I said, I don't.
Okay, so the time, so the time element is the point where LFR makes it more time efficient for those people to go into the content.
But it's not necessarily that. It's that LFR was set there to allow those who've never experienced the game content that people have said, look, I've always wanted to know what this was like. You know, and like I said, with my brother-in-law, he doesn't have the time into it, but he likes the LFR content. He will be the first one to admit to you that he should not be getting the same results.
But
and
is he getting the experience in LFR, though? I don't get an experience in the
content.
Of
course not. I mean... Who here has fun doing LFR?
I hate it, absolutely.
Okay. But he gets to sit there and he has told me in the past, he goes, you know what? He goes, I've never experienced raiding. He goes, I don't have the time. I don't want to be a raider. I don't want to put into it. But it's nice that I can actually experience that end-game content as it's current instead of having to wait 1 or 2 expansions later to go back and be able to solo it myself.
I mean, I get what Nate's saying.
I don't think I agree with that.
Okay, again,
as a gateway drug, though, to use it a bad term,
it absolutely is not
into raiding. No,
yes,
but at least gives them that experience of what it's like to see that content currently, and not having to wait 2 expansions later to pay for it, and then they can go back and now I see what they were talking about in Siege of Orgrimmar.
So you're saying, okay, well, let me get back to, so we can go by one point at a time. So you're saying that because people don't have enough time, that LFR, that necessitates LFR's creation so people can still see the content because they don't have enough time to do it on their own.
Okay.
You do know that, you can queue up and join any sort of a group in normal mode or even heroic right now, right at the exact boss that you need, and be in and out of there by the time that your LFR queue would even pop. So I would consider the time argument just numerically incorrect. That's just not the way it goes. Whenever I was on my hunter and I was trying to get him geared up in BRF, all I had to do was just go into the pre-made group finder, find a group for B-Sword, queue up and do B-Sword, and then leave. Mm-hmm. And then I could go and I could do Iron Maidens or whatever else. And so it actually takes less time to do things through the pre-made group finder than it would take to do it through LFR.
We did it for Garrosh in Mists of Pandaria when you wanted your Gary kill for your BOA. You just found the pre-made group for... we probably did that shit all day long, but we did. We looked specifically for a Garrosh kill so that we didn't have to be time-consuming.
And then I saved one for 5 weeks.
We did cheat.
But it's not the point of getting them to go in and getting that certain gear. It is not about going in and gearing up. I don't think LFR should be used as a stepping stone at all to go into raiding gear.
I think what Mike is trying to say is just to see the content, because some people aren't going to have the ability to actually be in a normal raid.
So what would be the reward of finishing then, gear-wise, then?
But here's another thing that people don't always look at when they're talking about on a PvP aspect of it. If that is the same aspect of getting rid of LFR, then you need to get rid of all the casual battlegrounds.
That's a false comparison, and I'll tell you why.
Not necessarily, because I know people on the opposite aspect that they may be mythic raiders that don't like to go into do raider battlegrounds, but they like to go in and see what battleground is like every once in a while. They like to go in
regular battlegrounds is toxic as fuck. If it's not rated, I don't want to be a part of it.
But
let me explain why I think that's not different.
But what's not right for you may be okay for somebody else. I know people that are rated are just a random battleground junkies. And that's all they like to do. They never want to step foot into a rated battleground, but they like to go in and just smash faces every once in a while.
Maybe it's not for them then.
Exactly. Okay. So I take away, though, from those people who wish to experience it.
Okay, and again, so you're the comparison you're trying to draw is LFRs like random battlegrounds, right?
I'm saying in the same aspect that those who don't want to raid don't need to do or that want to do the LFR should be allowed to do so. In the same aspect as those who don't want to do the rated battlegrounds and the 2s and 3s and the 5s that don't want to step into that but still want to see that battleground aspect. It might not be okay for you. You may not like it. And that's okay. I'll never step foot back into another LFR again in my entire life. Even if I don't raid, I won't do it because I can't stand it.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's not okay for somebody else.
Would you say that LFR is... Have you ever been in an LFR that couldn't kill the boss?
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, in this expansion at least. Like, I've never really been in one,
Yeah,
honestly.
but they had to work really hard to... I mean, literally, they had to work really hard
the
to not kill the
determination
boss.
buffs stack up each
to
time
10.
that you wipe. LFR is designed to be completed. So LFR, in my opinion, is not necessarily a game. It's more of a reward system because you're going to win. Like, it's designed, it's set up, and it's programmed for you to win at it because that's the determination system. Mm-hmm. Now, rated battlegrounds are very different because there's not a guaranteed win condition. So to compare rated battlegrounds to LFR, it doesn't really make any sense.
No. I'm not comparing to Raider Battlegrounds.
Sorry, random battlegrounds.
Random Battlegrounds
Yes.
to the LFR.
Yeah, so LFR is a guaranteed success, and random battlegrounds are not. And I think that anything that's a guaranteed success
LFR
in
is
a
not
game,
a guaranteed success.
It
I've
is,
played
though,
it
in
at
this
like 10
context,
stacks.
in this
Okay,
context,
I mean,
it
like-
is 99% of the time. We're talking about 1%. I do
yeah,
get what he's saying
I mean,
about
like,
that.
okay, so the one time that you couldn't
I
kill
agree.
Archimon because you
more
had
than
the
one
healers
time.
were
It's
flying.
been bad.
But
I
this
mean,
is
like, you can't
situational, though.
Right, yeah,
use-
exactly.
You can't really use that as like the rule. You can't base the exception on the rule.
I'll
And
lose 12 battlegrounds in a row. Literally, I completely wasted an hour of my time sitting in queue to get in a battleground that loses because he's right. It's not guaranteed.
And I'm not for making it a guaranteed win. And yes, do I think there could be some changes that made? Yes. Determination stacks I think are stupid. I remember standing up on, let's go back 2 expansions with the LFR for Dragon Soul. And standing on friggin' Ultraxi stand and watching the whole friggin' thing be up in purple and nobody able to be able to progress because they're not bringing the Drakes down and getting through the Hour Twilight thing. I remember that. And I remember smacking my head off the keyboard going, why are you people so fucking stupid? You know, so I do remember that aspect. And back then, I think LFR was okay.
So
And
what
I
would
get
you
what
change
you're
then?
saying.
What would you change? What would you propose as a happy medium? Because to me, I don't
Well,
really think there could be one.
Before
right?
we get into that, can you at least see the differentiation I'm trying to make between LFR and random battlegrounds? That one of them is a guaranteed, basically, success. One of them is designed for you to succeed at, and one of them is not.
I mean, I think at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's just based on the person that's going into these LFRs
Okay.
and to these, and
So
some
then-
people actually take it serious, others just want free loot. Is what it comes
but
down
if you
to.
look at the way things are going, though, for a while.
Jim,
and-
do you have anything to say to? You're so
No.
passive that I feel like you don't
I'm
ever
letting
say
this-
anything.
I'm
I was
letting
the
this
passive
hash
one
out.
last week.
You know,
Jim's taking
and I
over
was,
today.
but I was 100% against the changes they had made
I
towards
think we're getting-
Ashran at the end of this expansion as well, where they put these secret buffs in the background.
But I
You
think
know,
we're
that
getting
was
off
another-
We're not
track
going to
with
talk about
this.
Ashran at all.
But
That's a
I just
rabbit
mean we're
hole
getting
I
off
don't feel
track
like
as
jumping
far as
down
we're
at all.
supposed
They're changing. I don't
Not
like
gonna get into that.
the facts that they're making it 100% guaranteed to win.
Well,
You know,
no,
and
I
I
mean, like,
don't-
it doesn't. Ashran doesn't, just because you have a buff, it doesn't make you guaranteed to win.
No, it doesn't.
Like,
It makes the odds a little bit better in your favor to do so.
it helps you out a little
Right.
bit. I
You're
mean,
still at the mercy of the group you're
What-
with at the end of the day.
yeah.
You're at
What
the
I
mercy
what
of
I
the
Getting
like
off
about
track
the
for the
LFR
point,
is
though.
it gives those people to look at it. Now and that's another thing. And going back with the nostalgic thing, with the raids that everybody had before, people always said, "Hey, I can't, dude. We need 40-man raids back. We need Molten Core. We need this. We need that." We tried that once last year, and that was an absolute nightmare going into that as well.
I had a blast. What are you talking
fuck
about?
you. I
had
never.
the best fucking time of my life. Literally, I loved that anniversary.
I would have
event.
had
That
that
was the
damn
longest 3
pet
hours
if I
of my
would
life.
have
It
had
was so hard, and we died and wiped, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed it.
But that was the proving point right
Maybe
there.
I'm on a different planet then,
Can't.
because I had a great time.
Yeah, I couldn't stand the thing. The idiots in there. I
Yeah,
just
you don't have to heal. That's
But
why.
I literally,
Bill.
I loved all the
Didn't have
deaths.
to tank you.
I loved the frustration because it's something we haven't gotten in a while. It was difficult. People actually
enough.
had
I mean,
to
I-
work
I-
together.
I don't mind
That's-
frustration, but I also don't mind. I do mind whenever the game engineers frustration, and I have no control over that.
Oh, that's
which is
valid.
what LFR does in another way. Like if you have a bad player get in LFR, somebody that just wants to AFK or just fuck around the whole time, you don't really have the option to just kick them out and replace them. You have to go through a vote kick system, and then like your account is penalized, and like now your vote kicks require more votes, or you can't kick people out as often. And so it's something that kind of rewards and encourages antisocial and toxic gameplay. Now, Also, another thing that you were saying was that because people paid for the game, they deserve to see the raid content. Was that like another one of
They
your?
deserve to see the content that came along with what they paid for. Yes.
I guess like my counterpoint to that is that if a player does not reach level 100, they can't see the in-game content. Is that right?
Valid.
Okay. So we've already established a certain point where if somebody pays for the game and if they don't meet certain conditions, they're not able to achieve or like be able to see a certain amount of content. Is that right?
I think you're stretching it with a level cap thing.
Oh, how?
Because my mother used to play. She had recently quit. She would get to level 100. She never wanted to see the end game content.
Right.
Well,
what I'm saying is that Blizzard has already created a point where people who pay for the game are not able to see the content, and that's through levels.
But the opportunity is there, and if you
the opportunity is there without LFR as well. LFR doesn't create that opportunity.
That's a good point. It's up to them if they want to take it to that level. Then they're going to need to do it. They're going to need to make it happen.
I don't necessarily think that LFR should be removed as much as replaced. I think that it should be replaced with smaller raids, similar to Next 10, where people are able to get in and interact with each other and create their own groups. I don't like automated queuing systems, and I think that LFR promotes toxic and antisocial behavior. It also is an automatic win condition, so people just want to go through it as fast as possible. It just automatically rewards you loot. There's no rhyme or reason to you can do top DPS or bottom DPS. You just are awarded loot randomly. There's no correlation to success and reward. There are so many things that are wrong with it, and also I think that not only does it do that, but it also cannibalizes the dungeon and the world content because the LFR gear is so good that it makes it more efficient to just do LFR than to do the dungeon content. I don't really think that people deserve to see any part of a game based on if they paid for it or not. Like if you buy Mario, you don't deserve to kill Bowser. Like you have to go through the entire game. And I think that really, like, there needs to be an in-between where there are entry-level raids that people can go into, and they're not that hard. They're maybe about as hard as LFR Dragon Soul. You know, not that hard. Like, you can wipe on them, but it's not really too bad, and players can go in and create their own groups and do their own thing, rather than the game doing it for them. Do you see kind of what I'm saying?
There's a medium ground there. And I want to address everybody that's in chat right now. You guys should understand that, I mean, you guys are really, really quick to so-and-so's right and wrong. You guys should also know that everybody's allowed and entitled to their opinion. That's the beautiful thing in the nature of World of Warcraft that we live in, is everybody can have the opposing viewpoints. And I think that's okay for that to be so. So let's not freak out, guys. Let's calm down. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, guys. I mean, like, I hardly ever get anybody that wants to argue with me. This is great. Like I finally get to have a debate with somebody.
Unfair, because
and you guys are getting mad in the chat. Come on.
Every point I want to make, you completely shut it the fuck down, and I'm like, God damn! I worked really hard on that opposing viewpoint, and you completely shut it down. Like, look at Lycan. Lycan completely agrees with what you just said, and now has nothing left.
Because I remember going in the next 10 and then the next 25. I do remember that, you know, and I think I can see that point. I said I don't, like I said, I don't think every raider out there should be a mythic raider. Like I said, there should be that delineation where there are the harder raids. Now, whether they are two totally different raids is one thing or another. You know, maybe something a little different. I don't think it should be a guaranteed win, though. I think that's where my big disagreement is removing that LFR without a backup in there and a backup replacement for the way the system is right now.
Yes, there absolutely needs to be a backup. Absolutely, right. I completely agree with you there. And that's why I need to start saying it needs to be replaced, because people just think that and they're like, oh, well, then there's going to be nothing to do. And that, yes, removing it, period, right now with nothing else to replace it would be the worst, probably a horrible decision, one of the worst decisions they could possibly make. But they need to create a rewarding in-game experience that facilitates and rewards social interaction rather than one that rewards clicking enter queue. You know, right. There's nothing really to that. And, I mean, can you at least... I mean, like, I think that everybody probably will agree here. It was more rewarding to move from Karazhan to Gruul's Lair, or from SSC to TK, or from Hyjal to Mountain to Black Temple, or from Black Temple to Sunwell. It was more rewarding to make a transition from one raid to another. It felt like you were moving forward more.
Right.
That felt better, and it felt like more rewarding than moving from one difficulty to another of the same raid.
Fucking set of bosses.
Yeah,
Nothing.
I totally
to
agree with
me
that.
feels like character progression.
Yeah.
Doing it on different difficulties.
So having
seems
raids
like
be
character
different actual
repetition.
levels of difficulty.
Yeah, Karazhan was entry level, where Sunwell was
agree
like,
with that.
I'm at the top of my shit.
In Wrath, and yeah, we stuttered in X 25, and when Old War came out, our raid leader said, "Oh no, fuck that, we're staying here until we figure this shit out."
It was a lot harder.
Yeah, and we did not make that jump. As a matter of fact, we just stepped into Old War about 2 weeks before Ice Crown was actually set out. So I mean, I do recognize that different difficulty, and you're right. I think progressing further than going from heroic to mythic or any weather was a lot better.
Asmongold, you said something to me on a call recently. We were talking about the future of WoW, the state of Legion. Well, I mean, there really isn't a state of Legion. It's alpha, for fuck's sake. But we talked. You had given me a list of things World of Warcraft needs to be successful, and that kind of list of things really blew my mind, because I think it's things that we already knew, but nobody really talks about out loud. Do you remember that list of things you gave me?
Well, it's two things. Rewarding and facilitating social interaction, and a rewarding and progressive endgame. And that endgame back in vanilla was the leveling. And so that necessarily isn't entirely true, but some sort of rewarding progression throughout the game. And those two things are not present in Warlords of Draenor. They were more present than they are now in Mists of Pandaria, but they were not. In Cataclysm, they were not really as present. In Wrath of the Lich King, they were more present. In Burning Crusade, they were even more present. Right. And in Vanilla, they were very, very present. And I think that's one thing that I try to find correlations. I try to find patterns, and I look at like what happened, what made Vanilla so good, what made Burning Crusade, what made subscribers increase, what made more people want to come and play the game. Same in Wrath of the Lich King, and what made them stop playing the game in Cataclysm and continuing, more or less of them in Mists of Pandaria, and now way less in Warlords of Draenor. And from what I've seen, allowing people to do raid content does not correlate to subscriber numbers. And also, I think that there's another big element here, that allowing people to complete the raid content on, the first month is counterintuitive to their business model.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a game that people pay to continuously play, it would make sense to make them have to work to finish the game.
Agreed with that. I 100% agree. I want to disagree with you because I really want to fucking argue with you, but you're making it really hard for me.
Look how long it took them to get Ragnaros done the first time. It was 154 days after it came out?
Ragnaros. Oh, do you mean like the original Ragnaros?
Why don't you work for Blizzard?
Ragnaros.
Did they not hire you?
They're not going to hire me.
Can we do a change? Now that's a fucking change.org position I would sign.
That's not gonna, I mean, I'm not a game developer. I don't really, like, what I think, it's just, I have these ideas, I think that they'll work, but I might not be taking everything into account. Like, they're the professionals, everything like that. I would be happy to talk with them, but that's probably never going to happen. But I would be happy to give them my opinion, but I never expect to be actually consulted.
We're going to create a change.org position. Who's with me?
Position.
We're gonna create I'm gonna create it after this, and we're gonna take this to Capitol motherfucking Hill. I'm gonna get somebody at Blizzard to pay attention. I'm gonna get you a sit down with Chris Metzen.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lobby for that.
Oh, I mean, I just really hope that they make the game, make people feel the way that I felt. Like, I'll never have the same feeling that I had playing vanilla for the first time again. I'll never have that again. And I think any of you guys that had that same feeling will never have that again. Let's be honest. But what bothers me is that the game now, I don't think, facilitates that same feeling for the kids now and the young people now that are coming in there. And I want to have them have that same feeling that I had.
That sense of reward.
That sense of reward, that sense of accomplishment, that sense of progression, that sense of meaningfulness, that sense of community, of that you're not just some useless 16-year-old. That was me. You're a warrior.
Pride in what you're completing.
You work hard and you try and you do something and you put your effort into something that you care about and you get something out of it. And the game facilitated that, and it doesn't now.
I want a gold star at the end of my day when I've done an amazing job and I've had to work really, really hard for a pair of gloves I wanted. I'm just going to throw that out there. I don't want to fucking go buy it in the auction house. I want to earn it. That's just me, though. I don't know.
I remember doing daily heroics in Lich King, and I would sit in Dalaran, and I had a macro, and I would sell my tanking ability. Yeah. And it was just, and I was only for like, I want to say 25 gold. It wasn't much.
It's not all he was selling, ladies and gentlemen. Let's just make sure we're clear about that right out the gates.
And I guarantee them their daily heroic, and we would go through and we would do it. And I would get whispers, and I'd build up a customer base. And when they would wait for me to log in, they would say, oh, by the way, has so-and-so logged in? It wasn't liking at the time, obviously, but has he logged in? I'm like, and I'd get whispers from guildies saying, hey, by the way, so-and-so was looking for you. But it was, you're right, there was that community that just is not there. And LFG, when it first came in, I remember going in, and every time you hit certain dungeons, people would look at it and go, oh, no, we're out of here. And it all fell apart. And
you heard it here first, folks. Like in the Gigolo.
Yeah, it's not the same, and I think they should still have LFG for the lower level dungeons because it's so hard to coordinate groups at that level, just like logistically. But for higher level stuff, I don't think there should be any sort of queuing mechanisms. There are automated queuing mechanisms that are facilitated by Blizzard. I think there should be things that basically allow people to get into a lobby, same as we have the pre-made group finder. That is amazing. I think that's wonderful. But, automated queuing systems where you're stuck with people who you can't necessarily, you can't control them, and so you're kind of, by the fickle finger of fate, you now have 20 extra minutes of your time wasted because somebody doesn't give a shit.
Right.
That's not fun. And that's kind of where, that's how I feel about it, and...
Because other people are affecting your gameplay.
Well, yeah, and you're playing this game with other real people, and you don't owe anybody your time. And nobody owes you their time. And,
I disagree with that. If you're in a run with me, you owe me your 150%.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, what I mean is that, if somebody, by paying for the game or whatever, other people don't have to play with you.
Valid.
Right? Other people should not have to stay in a group with you. Other people should not have to be able to control your success to the extent that you're not able to remove them from the group. I don't think that it doesn't facilitate a healthy community, really.
I agree with that.
And you're actually rewarded to do that, because if you remember when we first started Warlords of Draenor, and you get that luck of the draw where you get the bonus damage and the bonus increase for auto queuing.
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were actually struggling on a few of the dungeons at first because we weren't getting the luck of the draw bonus. And we would break up, going, you said, you know what, why don't we just break up in two groups, 3 go one way, 2 go the other way, we'll auto queue for the rest of it, and we'll be able to down it. And it's a shame that they're actually, not only is the sense of community going away, but they're promoting that self...
Well, they incentivize it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's really disappointing. And, that's what I'm really worried about with Legion. I mean, the game systems seem great. World quests are awesome. Dungeons look cool. Raids are really fun. Everything looks great. But if they just keep this thing up with 4 raid difficulties, the LFR gear is going to outdate the World Quest gear. Nobody is going to need to do the World Quests. Yep. And it's just all going to be the same as we have in WoD. They have to revamp and reimagine what they're going to do with these rating systems, and what they have now just isn't good enough.
I agree.
Is it set up the same way, for the Legion, or is it too with that many?
They haven't really done anything. I know that there are going to be multiple difficulties, but I don't know how many. And I think if they continue the 4 difficulty thing, it's just going to be it'll be better than WoD, but not really.
Yeah, same shit, different day, really.
Yep.
New content.
Yeah. Because obviously people are always going to gravitate to the easiest thing, and if you LFR, basically you just sit there and collect loot. I mean, everybody's going to do that if that's the best thing to do.
So, a lot of really good discussion. I want those of us that are PWNCAST regulars, because Asmongold, you brought a lot of your people here. Shout out to those that came to join us. We appreciate it. But there's a lot of our regular PWNCASTers that either won't catch this live or listening on iTunes after the fact. I want them to get to know you a little bit. I want to talk about where you got your start. So I want to get basically who is your daddy and what does he do. I can't do it the accent, guys. So
he's retired, and he basically sits behind me. He's right there in that chair. Well, his chair's not there anymore, but usually he sits behind that chair. And some really watches me play the game. Yeah. Some good quotes. Is Soulstone a player? Wow, you really got to get away from all those stingrays. And I'm just standing in, like, there's some rocks. And, so he has no idea what I do. I mean, like, he understands the YouTube stuff. Of course he understands that, and the Twitch and everything. But in terms of the actual game, no idea whatsoever. And, so pretty much what you're asking, I guess, is, like, where I started.
Where did you start? How old were you when you started playing?
16. I had just turned 16.
Interesting. And
I'm 25.
So 25. God, you're old as fuck. Just kidding.
I know.
I'm still older than everybody on this call. Just so
Really?
we're clear.
No, you're not.
No, you're-
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
not? Oh, that's
No.
right. Lycan's old as shit. Okay, I forgot about that.
Crocodile Dundee is cool.
So talk about because were you always this serious about WoW? Did it just naturally progress?
I don't do anything casually. Okay? Like, I
No,
play...
for the single ladies.
That's right. But no, I mean, like, really, I don't play any game casually. You know, I every single... If I play 3 hours a week, I'm still hardcore whenever I play those 3 hours a week. And so, whenever I started playing WoW, obviously I didn't really entirely understand it. So it took me a while to kind of get the ropes of it. But then, I mean, before you knew it, I was like, I had the AV weekend. It was Warsaw Gulch, Arathi Basin, Alterac Valley, in that order. Like, I remember that because I get home, I get off the bus, and I would walk until they drove away because I didn't want to embarrass myself. But after they were gone, I would jog up to my house, call my boys up, and my character would not go offline for 72 hours while I played AV for all that time. That's actually not true. I had to let my friend play, and then he'd actually just look at porn while I was asleep, and I'd come back and I'd be dead in some random dungeon. But the point is that I was extremely serious about it. I would play all the time, and there have been points where I've had to take a break and like play a little bit less, and other times I've been able to play a little bit more. But that's pretty much where I came from, and so as soon as I really got into the game, as soon as I got 60, I'd be coming home, doing Alterac Valley every day, farming, dark iron ore and that mountain thing in burning steps every single day.
Yeah.
That's what I would be doing all the time. And I've always been really into it.
So I think we could all agree, anybody that knows you, you're like, I think you're like I am in that sense. I'm super passionate. I don't really have like a kind of hot or cold. I don't have an in-between about anything I feel in my gaming life. So I'm either 100% going to set you on fire or 100% I'm going to bring you tacos. Like that's how I feel with my game life. So how did you transition into being so vocal and wanting to kind of speak out into the community? How did that transition kind of come to pass?
Well, I mean, I've always really kind of made videos. Like making videos has always been like kind of my, not really a hobby, not really a passion. It's just a thing that I've always done. Like I got a video camera when I was 11, and ever since then I've been making videos. And so as soon as,
if you don't mind me asking.
well, there's one. Well, we used to put on helmets, and sometimes we didn't put on helmets, which explains some of the things that I say. And we would beat our heads into trash cans and knock them over. And like we'd do that. Other times we'd just beat each other with sticks, and that was whenever we were little. And then we moved up to shooting each other with airsoft guns, and then we used to do all kinds of other stuff too that I don't even really want to talk about on this show. But all kinds of like really really cool stuff. Some of it at least. And so then whenever I started playing WoW, I was like, man, I'm so great at this game. I want to show everybody how great I am. Where can I do that? On YouTube. Yeah. And so as soon as I could, I made a YouTube account and I started uploading as many videos as I could onto there about like just different things that I'd solo. And then after a while, after the game kind of, decisions being made, I didn't really feel were the right decisions. And I got old enough to where I could see kind of, I could have some sense of perspective. I made a few videos on my old channel. There's one where like they added that Heart of the Aspects mount, and I got so mad I poured salt on my hair. And so yeah, I was really really mad about that. Okay.
Why were you mad about that?
Because there's 3 fucking reskins of the same mount in Dragon Soul.
I bought that fucking thing too. I bought that thing.
And then, how do you get the coolest mount in the game? And guys, don't even tell me it's not, because it is. How do you get the coolest mount? Where's the salt? Actually, it's a good thing it's out on.
I got that fucking mount, and it makes me sick to watch the body do this.
I was so mad. I was so mad. I logged on. I had Invincible, and I felt like an idiot riding Invincible next to some moron that spent $25 for a big yellow banana.
I fucking love that mount. Okay, I used it for 2 whole days.
Insane, and it was part of the Dragon Soul. It was used in the Dragon Soul art.
I had a pet that accompanied it also.
And it's just like, it seemed like they were selling out their fan base.
It was it was the ugliest fucking mount ever. I'm not gonna lie about that.
I loved it, and I wanted it because I couldn't get it in the game, and I was just so expecting, like, okay, it's got to be a really rare drop from Deathwing. Maybe it's going to be from, Chromatic Champion, because it used the same portrait as the Heart of the Aspect. And so there were so many reasons that I was like, all right, it's going to be in the game. And then I log on, and some guy in a garbage guild that can't even clear Firelands is writing it.
Did you just go full on elitist on us? You just went elitist on us right now.
I mean, come on, Firelands was easy. I mean, he was terrible.
That's so funny. I totally bought that fucking mount. My husband was pissed too. He's like, "Were you going to tell me you spent money?" It was $25. I just had to have it because it was there, available for me to purchase.
And so, like, then I made that video, and then I made some more videos, and then I pretty much made my new channel, and everything else from there is pretty much history.
So I have a question that everybody asks us constantly for the last 2 years. Every email I get, every Facebook inbox, every Twitter, everything I get, everybody always says, "What keeps you playing? What keeps you coming back?"
Remember what I said about, like, how a lot of people said it's because of their friends? It's the same with me. I've got a lot of friends that play this game. I've got nearly 10 years worth of friends that I have playing this game. My mom plays this game. I've gotten a lot of my real life friends into it, and it's been something that I've really enjoyed. And right now it's in a pretty bad spot. And so I played some Diablo, I played some Black Desert Online, but I always do kind of come back to WoW. And one thing that I really do like about it is that there's so many different types of things that you can do. You can farm mounts, farm gold, do raids, do dungeons, solo content. There's lots of different things that you can do. So you're not necessarily logging into, like, Counter-Strike. You either shoot people in the desert, or you shoot people in some sort of a building, right? But while there's so many different types of gameplay, it allows me to kind of, if I burn out on one thing, I can always go do something else.
They want to know about they've been mentioning your Iron Man challenge throughout this whole episode, and I think they want you to have a fucking meltdown. So
it's too soon. It's too soon.
It already happened with that aspect of the.
They want to know what happened with that. Were you successful in your Iron Man endeavors?
No. I was not.
I feel like we should hear the story of the Iron Man challenge.
Well, I was just like, hey, you guys want to see the Iron Man challenge? People were like, yeah, and I'm like, all right, let's do it. This is easy. And so I made videos, and, like, at the beginning I was like, yeah, this is just for fun, who gives a shit, right? But then I got more into it. People started sending me mail, and
the amount of mail you got in those videos was ridiculous.
Yeah,
so you have a huge fan base, but that's a lot of mail.
Yeah, there's a lot of fiends in there too. People sent me some weird shit. I think, like, really, like, I felt really bad, dying and everything, and there was kind of, like, another reason why it happened, and I'll talk about that. I'm not really ready to talk about that. I will probably in, like, hopefully a couple of months, but anyway, I don't really want to get into that too much, but the point is that I was really disappointed because I felt like I let everybody down, and especially, like, I hate to lose at anything. I hate losing, and especially with something as stupid as that. And yeah, of course, Feign Death didn't work. Yeah, of course, I did jump and it didn't go away. But I could have jumped more, and I should have avoided it in the first place. And so ultimately, it was my fault. And so the more I got into doing the Iron Man challenge, and the more that people really enjoyed it, I felt like I had to do this. And I make videos for other people. I want to. And I want to say it in the best way possible. I want people to enjoy my content. I want people to, have fun watching my videos. And so people love these videos, and it was just so disappointing for me to let everybody down for that, you know.
I think the important thing is, though, that I know you may have felt like you did, but I think if you polled your community, you didn't. You gave them a great deal of entertainment. Of course, you want to be of course, you wanted to hit 100, and you don't feel like retrying it again. But
hello, Jim, are we selling out right now? What's
for what?
happening? You're selling out.
You guys want me
right
to do
now.
the Iron Man challenge? I
No,
can do
he's
that.
like, you did a great job.
No, I mean, like, if you ask this community,
that's like
it's
giving him a trophy for just showing up, right?
No, I'm not giving him shit. I'm not telling him to turn his
attendance trophy. You did
I'm not trying to tell him to turn that frown upside down. I'm just letting him know whether he's looked at it any way.
I know that
the series was a huge success. Yeah,
I know there's a lot of people who are really happy that I did this series and everything, and I do really appreciate everybody who sent me messages and condolences and everything, because I did take it really hard on myself. I never like I mean I was, it's really bad, but I moved forward, and that's really all there is to it. And I always try and look at like what can I do going forward. I don't really ever try to sit and like wallow on my failures. Oh wow, I can't believe this happened to me, I'm such a loser. I laid down for a couple hours and thought that, and then I got back up. I was like, okay, well, at least I don't have to edit these things anymore. Now I can start I mean, like, guys, it was really bad. Okay. At least I don't have to edit these things anymore. At least I don't have the stress of like doing this every Saturday, because it was really stressful. I mean, like,
they
getting
were counting on you to show up.
Yeah, and I was counting on myself, and to have all that time wasted, the better part of a year wasted, and embarrass yourself in front of hundreds of thousands of people, that sucks.
Well, you still think you're a winner. Jim is gonna.
No, he's right. He's right. He fucked up real bad.
Well, I did. I mean, it's true. But and I have no problem admitting that. And I think that's the first thing. Is like, you can't. I think like that. In order to improve, in order to get better, in order to move forward, you have to realize that whenever you made a misstep, and be honest with yourself. And I'm just being honest with myself, is that was a mistake, and I could have prevented that, but I choked and I didn't.
Nice.
That's all there is to it.
Now, I have the final question that's before we run you through our gauntlet. This is several members of our community have asked me to make sure that I ask this question. The public wants to know when the Asmongold versus Jimma Banks pet battle is going to go down. Can we televise it? Can we live stream it? Can we lock in a date? Can we lock in a date and do a co-stream, Asmongold, a co-stream of you two in the pet battle of the fucking century? Two greats going at it in a
Jim, you're going to get wrecked, man. Like, I'm sorry.
So I want to make sure while we're in, I want to hold everybody here accountable. If I could lock down a yes and then a possible series of dates that we can lock down. I want to make this a big event. I want to make this a big thing. I want to open up bets and see who's going to win.
It's a yes, but I don't know when. I'll tell you that.
If I had my Blue Yeti, I'd just lean to the mic. I just want to say I obviously respect Asmongold. Thank you for being on the show. The Asmongold army is here. But everyone knows Jim is scared of no man. Literally in PvP pet battles. So, of course, if the sponsors are there and the timing's right, I'll have my people contact your people, of course.
People, fucker.
Yeah.
I've got people. I don't know if...
We are your people. Were you going to call me?
Yeah, you're one of many.
She's contacting me right now, so it's going to
happen. Yeah, right.
That's a confirmation from you then, Jim.
Yeah, I mean...
And I know you got a lot going on, and we've...
Yeah.
Talk about all that,
I mean, like, I'm down to do that, because it'd be funny, because, like, I mean, sometimes I'll go 100 battles and I won't lose one. And so, I mean, I got no problem making it 101.
I want to make this a big event, guys. That's exciting.
Yeah, like a best of 7.
You can battle all the LFR pet battlers you want. I'm one of one, and that's not a shot. Again, we want to make sure everything is clear.
Okay, why don't you give me something?
How you feel?
All right, what's like one of your top 5 teams?
I think they're kind of getting nerfed. Just those, and of course you can say a counter. Like if I said the AOE team, there's a healing team or a couple teams to counter that, right? So I had my 2 main teams, the AOE one with Graves, Pandaren, Dragonling, and Fragment of Anger. But of course, there's a few counters, and it would win a lot.
Fragment of Anger. Why do you have that?
AOE, Soul Rush, Stun, Undead. Rachel.
Don't you get countered by the Crawdad? because you don't have enough incoming damage.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you go against a healing team, obviously the AoE team, it's like paper scissors rock.
That's what I was saying about how like I don't have any rock paper scissors. I'm just a rock and everybody else is scissors.
Yeah, I got
boulders.
I got boulders falling at.
It's gonna be no big deal. I'm telling you.
And I'm not going to use my more televised teams, of course. I'm not
you guys heard it here first. I will be coordinating this. It's going to be a while. We got some stuff going on, and Asmongold's got some things going on. But you heard it here first. We are going to make this happen. We are going to make this a thing. Now, I want to move on to the gauntlet to make sure I can time keep a little bit here. While I'm doing the gauntlet, if all of you in chat want to ask Asmongold a question, please at Chaos of PWNCAST in chat your question so that he can get that question over to us, and we can do a nice Q&A with Asmongold. This is your chance to ask all the questions you've ever wanted to know. What color ruse are you wearing? What do you like for dinner? Turkey or ham? This is your chance. Let's not make this weird, guys. His ruse are probably blue. Let's not make this weird.
If they're my viewers, they will.
Go ahead and do the at Chaos of PWNCAST. He's the moderator, and he's going to be the one taking the questions. So while we're doing that, I'm going to talk to you guys about the gauntlet. The gauntlet is tradition. And I had to pull, I feel like they were tough questions. Some of these, they're probably not for someone of Asmongold's caliber. It is what it is. So we have a series of questions, and we give you 90 seconds to answer the set of questions. So if you don't know the answer, you can just pass and we can move on. We'll see how many we can get in that 90 seconds. I'm going to get the counter up here. You should know that we did this with the red shirt guy. We actually stumped the red shirt guy. Do you guys remember that? It was amazing. Yeah, I'm taking credit for it.
I'm sure you'll have a few that I don't know. Like as I said, my knowledge is mostly in game stuff.
So we'll put a thing on the clock. Now, you don't get anything fancy for winning except bragging rights if you did a lot. Maybe Jim will do a little table dance for you.
He gets a picture on the wall of fame, doesn't he?
Yeah, for sure. You do go down in the wall of fame. So we're going to get 90 seconds on the clock. I need to get my fancy gauntlet music. It's somewhere on my bar. I do have gauntlet music.
That works.
Let me put it down here. All right. So, are you guys ready? I hope you guys in chat are paying attention. Remember, Asmon, if you don't know it, just move on. I don't think that's going to be a problem. All right. Let me get the music. All right. And we are going to start now. Name 4 of the 6 Shaws.
Shaw of Anger, Shaw of Fear, Shaw of Anguish. Is that Shaw of Anguish one? Shaw of Doubt. Is that good?
That's one. Yeah.
What sword did the High Lord Morgraine have?
Mograine. Are you talking about Alexandros Mograine?
I don't know what his first name is.
Stump jump.
I don't do lore. I just pulled the lore question from somebody that does it. I'm gonna give you your time back on that one. Who did Illidan fight in order to claim the title Ruler of Outlands?
Manaroth. No, Magtherdon.
Yeah, somebody told me they were one and the same because they're all pit lords.
Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Who was Medivh's father?
Shade of Iran.
Name the 3 of 7 clans in Warlords of Draenor.
Frostwolf, Bleeding Hollow, and Warsong.
What was the demon that corrupted Muru in Sunwell Plateau? Entropius. How many dragon flights are there?
5.
Holy shit, you're done. Holy shit.
Is that it?
So he got perfect
done?
like I did earlier, right?
Yeah, really. Like, well, your time is up, and I gave back some of that time. So, listen, guys, don't judge me for not knowing the first name. I don't know lore. I only know what.
We don't have any more. We're already done.
Oh, we have. I can let you answer the couple I have left. Let me see what I got. I can't ask you this one. You already know what the race of Manaroth. You already know. Who created the demon soul?
Was it Queen Ashara? I mean, the demon soul, which is the dragon soul. Is it the dragon soul or the? The names are interchangeable, right?
Dragon soul, demon soul, same thing.
Okay.
I would disagree with you on the Shade of Iran, though. It's Nihilus Iran.
Nihilus Iran.
But Shade of Iran was his. Yeah.
Iran was what I had written
so we're
down.
trying to one up. What does he say whenever somebody engages him with the Tesh?
Oh, how did you get that? Or
But close enough. Okay.
What is the racial name of the night elf race?
I'm glad you guys didn't ask me that whenever I was on the clock. Let's
I should
see.
have asked you that one first. Fuck.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
Keldori?
Caldor? Is that Caldor?
Keldori. I can't pronounce anything outside of normal words, so don't judge me. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So
all right.
for the Shahs, we have the Shah of fear, Shah of anger, Shah of pride, Shah of hatred, doubt, violence, and despair.
Yeah, anguish was not one.
Anguish wasn't one.
Anguish is one, but hasn't been introduced according to the thread I read earlier in order to research to make sure I had all the Shahs correctly. Somebody brought it up on,
That's a technicality.
on a topic
like
because
that.
there is an Anguish, but it hasn't been introduced in any kind of manner when it comes to the lore of whatever fuck's going on in that situation. But there is one, so it is technically a technicality, but I mean, you overnamed. I think you named like 5 anyway, so that was a win.
Than you.
And you got the clans right. You were
Yeah,
He's on
point,
par
man.
with me. I got them all right before the show.
Were
And-
they not hard enough, guys? Did I not
Wait.
do a good enough job?
But Manaroth, Magtheridon, I guess it's the same thing because
It's the same
they're
concept.
both
I mean,
hit lord. That's not.
Well,
that's-
I didn't like it. I immediately rephrased what I said.
Oh yeah.
did.
Oh yeah.
So,
but her
because
comment. I mean, I'm disappointed. I'm trying to teach her lore, and she goes, "Well, Manaroth, Magtheridon is the same
I'm
thing."
already my
Yeah.
head's already filled with being the best Destro
well,
Warlock there ever was. There's
Manaroth
no
was the
room for
one.
anything else.
Manaroth was like actually one of the supreme like commanders. Like it's like Archimonde, Manaroth, Kil'jaeden are like the 3 like main commanders of like the Burning Legion. And Manaroth was the one who was killed by Grom and refused the demon blood in
My
the war.
music was too loud. I'm sorry, guys. My music was too loud. Sorry.
And Magtheridon was defeated by Illidan, and that's why he was imprisoned under Hellfire Citadel.
So, looks like it's about that time, the end of the road. Asmongold, tell people how they can get a hold of you. I'm going to make sure if you're listening to this on iTunes, you will see the link in the description. If you're watching this later on YouTube, all the information will be right below here. What are ways people can follow? I have your Twitter here. You have your YouTube.
I mean, you just Google Asmongold, it's going to be a whole lot of me. And, youtube.com/Asmongold, Facebook.com/Asmongold, Twitter.com/Asmongold. Those are the 3. Oh, Twitch.tv/Asmongold as well. And you can follow any of those. And, usually you can get a hold of me on any of those as well. But YouTube is like, that's like my, it's my big dick battle station.
there you go.
Everybody's got to have a big dick battle station. A big bag of flying dicks. Someone said a pyramid of dicks yesterday. I was fucking impressed. Pyramid of flying dicks.
I prefer a wheelbarrow.
So you guys can go ahead and follow, like if you don't already. I'm assuming 99% of the listeners and watchers already do so. I do want to make sure that I thank you for coming on the show. I don't know about you guys, but I had a great time. It was really nice to see 2 people argue that wasn't myself and someone else, right? Because if I kind of stayed, everybody was like, why isn't Belle talking? I just kind of stayed back and let the boys have at it. My voice is heard every week, so it was nice to actually watch the back and forth. I appreciate the different viewpoints, and I think that's a testament to some of the elements that I like of being in this community, is that as adults we can all have opposing viewpoints and still have a love of the same game and still want the same end game, essentially.
Well,
So.
opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one.
Well,
Yep.
some people have too. We're not going to ask questions. We don't have to make this weird, guys. It just sometimes it is what it is. But I did enjoy having you on here, as did the rest of the group.
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Yeah,
very
I
nice
had
meeting
a
you.
really good
Bye.
time.
we appreciate you being on here. For the rest of you, make sure you guys check out PWNCASTDailyQuest.com. We had some site issues over the last week or so there hasn't been much posted. We finally fixed those issues with the server after I called and screamed at people, and we're getting back at some of that content. Also, I'm going to be finishing out the series on the Shaman Halls for the YouTube channel and getting into some other stuff in Legion. If you guys are new to PWNCAST, make sure you give us a follow on Twitter at the PWNCAST, and make sure you follow here, like, subscribe, do all those things that Asmongold tells you in his videos to do. Like, subscribe.
Comment, subscribe.
Right, that right there. Make sure you show us some love. Casual lives do matter. So, let's do the, I know, I'm so sorry that everybody's, I feel bad. I feel real bad. All right, let's get some questions before we get out of here. From Ewok, does Asmon plan on making a gnome hunter?
Fuck no. Who are you gonna tame? Battle pets, critters? Come on.
You wouldn't make a gnome hunter?
If there was a glyph that they could ride their pets, I would.
I mean, no. I mean,
You're being
you're gonna
racist
tame critters.
You're being racist right now.
I am.
Rob Japan. Now that the Iron Man series is done, what's the next series of videos you can expect?
I'm not sure. Right now, I really want to focus on like kind of getting ahead on the Legion coverage, and then after that, I have no idea. I was gonna do like going through, trying to solo all of the dungeons, leveling up, and I don't know how many people would really want to watch that, and I'm just not really sure what I'm gonna do.
We should
at this
collab
point.
and do the Warrior and the Warlock and see where that takes us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it's got to be like something that I can do like every week, you know. And I'm just not really sure what I can do. I might just focus more on streaming and like make that kind of like in a way the series, and you know, just kind of keep my YouTube channel for, you know, like my bigger videos.
Awesome.
Like so, but I'm not entirely sure yet.
It's to be determined, but you're still going to be creating amazing things.
I hope so.
I can hear somebody typing, so knock it off. Next question, the moose poop. I'm going to preface this question with a big fuck you to moose poop. This is for you, Asmongold. True or false, Belle sounds exactly like Sarah Palin.
You know, to be honest, man, I really don't spend a lot of time listening to Sarah
I don't
Palin.
either, right?
You say Alaska?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it. You're going to try to make me say it. I'm not even going to say it. I love you for that very non-committal answer. We can
Okay,
be
great.
friends for that. 'Cause I don't think I sound like her. She
How
sounds
about a
like
don't you know?
I'm not saying it. Jesus. Fuckboy RD. 1 to 10.
One of my
When
fans.
does Asmon consider?
No, you don't say.
Can't even deal. 1 to 10. What does Asmon consider his level of nerd? 1 to say pocket protector, because I think 10 is like a real generic. So let's say 1 to pocket protector. How nerdy would you say?
I mean, a nerd? Like, I mean, what defines like a nerd? I'm a neckbeard.
You guys look
Yeah.
gorgeous. I'm
But-
looking on mine. Are you
From
impressed?
fuckboy
Yeah,
to neckbeard, where do you
coming
see
along quite
yourself
well.
in between?
Fuckboy to neckbeard.
Where do you see yourself in
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, what really constitutes a nerd? Like, I can tell you all about Lord of the Rings. Like, that's got to be at least a couple points, right?
Hold on. Did you just say Lord of the Rings?
I did.
We're
That
did.
It
Can
does.
somebody please tell this gentleman how I feel about Lord of the Rings, considering I watch it every Sunday. We might be besties now.
She does.
Oh yeah, I fucking like
Obsessed.
I got the books. Like I used to. I got.
My guild is the Writers of Rohan, for fuck's sake. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
there's that.
I used to
can
watch
sum
it,
up.
like,
I can
is there
sum
any
up
relation
Lord of
to
the
that
Rings in
name
5
in the
seconds. Right?
Don't
of the
insult
Rings,
Lord of the
5
Rings right now. Like it and get kicked off
Sober.
the show.
Okay, Randall.
From Chaos, who is our kind moderator, and he's also a PWNCAST admin, will you contribute to Jim's GoFundMe for
No,
his
he
desk?
won't. He won't.
We set up
Desk.
We set up
Oh.
a fake GoFundMe because he's got a beautiful new mic with all the equipment to be a professional podcaster, but he doesn't have a desk to attach it to.
So, if people of the community, don't bother Asmongold with that question. It's not money. I haven't ordered it, or
Just
I'm
duct
just
tape
lazy.
it to the wall, dude.
Yeah, just right next to it.
I was gonna.
You wasted your question on that, Chaos. You
Well, I mean
suck.
that's.
You get one
it's
question
chaos,
for
not
asking
chaos.
for-
Hello, do you
What's
even know our
chaos now?
viewers? And Grin, of course, he was gonna make an appearance. Does Asmongold still keep the collection of sweet teas?
Sweet. Is that like sweeties, like cute girls,
He
or
puts
sweet
sweet
teas?
sweet
Because
teas. Yeah,
unfortunately,
sweet
the answer
teas.
is no to both.
Aw, you don't have a line of women around the block or men. We're not judging you here.
I
This
think
is
one of my
this is a
boys
safe
came
environment.
over. Like my mom answered the door. I don't even know. So
I'm
apparently,
the meatloaf.
yeah, exactly. So there's one of them here already. But sweet teas, no sweet teas. Lots of soda though.
Did you used to collect them at some point? Is that a
Unintentionally.
oh
Just for
Yeah,
the record,
Google Asmongold's lair.
oh? I'm scared. I feel like there's gonna be
American
some weird-
iced tea sucks.
some
Just so
weird
you
stuff.
guys know, don't order an iced tea in America.
How
Sucks.
many more of our listeners and watchers are you going to alienate when
I
you try
like
to do your
America.
all-international RBG
I
team?
like America. God bless. Your sweet tea sucks, or your iced tea sucks. Excuse me. Next question, please.
Wow, guys, if you want to riot and you want to petition to get him kicked off the show, I'm accepting. Bell@PWNCAST.net. Feel free to hit me up.
WoW challenges knows. He knows what a nice tea tastes
That's
like.
so embarrassing. Anyway, we are going to go ahead and get the hell out of here. I had a great time on the show. I know you guys did too. Thanks for the watches. Thanks for the follows. Thanks for the laughs. Thanks for the fuckery, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
I've been looking at chat. There's been a lot of that.
Yeah, there's been a lot. And Asmongold, I would like to welcome you back anytime you want to come on the show.
Yeah, sure.
You know, anytime you're just feeling like maybe you just want to chop it up or maybe you just want to argue. I'm in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I'm usually around. If it's on Mondays, right?
Yeah, we do it every Monday night. Yeah.
Well, at least until Legion, it's going to be no big deal. Because, like, in Legion, I'll be raiding on Mondays. But other than that, like, I'll come by whenever. You know, sometimes I'll be busy, but if you just send me a line, I'll let you know if I'll be able to be there or not.
I'll stalk you on the various places I could stalk you at.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you on the show, Asmongold. Thanks for
Yeah, man. As I said,
it was very nice meeting you. Heard many things about you.
Did you say you heard mean things about me?
I've heard many nice things about you.
Oh. I didn't even know there were that many. There were that many.
Yeah, there's enough.
There's enough to where it was a full conversation. It was a nice conversation. I'm going to stop talking because I feel like he's going to tell me I sound like Sarah Palin again. So Sarah Palin has left the building. I want to thank Chaos, our moderator.
Start the memes now. Start the memes now.
Oh, I got one more question before we leave. You guys are killing me. Then questions are closed after this. I'm not going to say your stupid stream name. His real name is D. White. Okay? D. White would like to know, what did you miss most about vanilla? I don't know why you're asking him this. You know we're going to go back down this rabbit hole, guys.
What I missed the most? I mean, like, I don't know. That's a pretty big question to end on. But probably just a sense of progression. I think sense of progression is really the thing.
I'm supposed to ask you to say Alaska. Okay, we're getting
No,
Alaska?
You're supposed to say Alaska.
no, he said ask Asmongold to say you're
That's so you would say it. They just trolled. You don't even know
what
your
a dick. They got me to say Alaska.
Oh man.
All right.
That was good. Yeah.
I know. They got me.
Impressed.
They want you to stream after this.
Unlikely.
It's unlikely. He's got to get his beauty rest, guys. Otherwise, his neck beard's
I
not
have
going to
to
grow in.
record and edit a video after this. I have to take care of my dad's cats and probably something else I haven't thought of.
Shaving the cats probably also. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thanks so much, and we appreciate you spending your now 2 hours with us every week. We appreciate it, and we're going to get on out of here. We're going to leave you with this lovely outro. That was beautiful. The chat, the mixing of the two communities was pretty legit.
Yeah. Are we offline?
I think he still airs.
Oh, okay.
So you can't talk
I was about to say all my viewers fucking suck.
Everyone like Lycan's intro today? Oh my god, you're fired.
No, was that not the best ever?
Which
That
one?
I
His intro?
can't
Yeah, it was
take
pretty
credit for
good.
that.